We were just talking about you. Jocelyn, good to see you up and out. Eric, how are you, bud? Good to see you. Wesley, how are you? Lots of familiar faces here. Is that Brooke? Yeah. Hey. Dortha, how are you doing? Stacy, how you doing? Linda, how you doing? Wesley, how's it going? Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. Hey, Kevin. Click through here. Welcome, everybody. Great to see you guys. Our friends from Poland are here. Some Romanians are here. Welcome, everybody. Great to see all of you guys. Welcome. For some of you, we may not have met you. This might be your first kind of empowered living Paul Martinelli introduction. I'd like to welcome you to the call. Hey, Sandy, how you doing? Welcome. Thane, how you doing? John, welcome. Johannes, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Great to see all of you guys. We're going to get started here just in about 2 minutes. Hey, Kimberly, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while, Kimberly. Good to see you. Thelma, how are you doing? Welcome, everybody. Great to see all of you guys. Kevin, I still love that background, man. It's like makes you just want to go to a vineyard, right? Andy, you see Kevin's background. It looks like he's in Napa. Good to see all of you guys. Great to see all of you guys. We're going to get started here in about 1 minute. In the chat right now, we're going to put a resource that will guide you through the workshop. There's a workbook that we've created. So this is going to, there'll be a link right now in the chat. My team will be putting it in right now. You can go ahead and download this. This will just kind of be an accompanying guide that'll help you through the workbook. You can open it up, maybe print it real quick. Or even if you don't print it, you can just open it up and kind of follow along and then fill it in later, just to give you some questions to think about, but it'll allow you to kind of guide through the principles that we're going to take you through today. There you go. You should have that. And then for some of you, if you registered for the call, some of you did, some of you didn't. Some of you just kind of found the link and here you are. But some of you already had this resource. It's the sales energy assessment. So if you had this, you would have gotten this in your email. If you didn't, we're going to put a link into it now. You'll do this after the call. This is a fantastic assessment that will help you kind of gauge where your level of certainty and self-belief is as it relates to money and sales. So this is the sales energy assessment. You'll take this after today's call. And then there's the sales breakthrough workshop. This guide, there's a link into it right now. You can download this, open it up, and you can use this as you go through today, okay? I think that clear enough, Charlie? Did I get that right? Yeah. While we're waiting, we'll start here in 1 minute. Why don't we just go across the kind of top? That's Holly. Happy Holly, my wife, Holly Martinelli. And then Andy Hall in the Empowered Living, my friend in my mentoring program, Andy Hall, the best coach in the world. If you're looking to become a coach, man, Andy has a system and a process for certifying coaches. And then the only reason why we keep Andy around is because of Charlie. Charlie is our CEO. She runs the ship for us. She's our CEO. And then second row on my left is Dr. Rick Raperto. And nothing happens without Rick. He's our director of why, right? When somebody's got a why, Rick spends his day just listening to people's dreams and helping people take their next step in their life. And so we are so grateful to have Rick on our team. And lots of you are team ambassadors for Empowered Living Program. Great to have all of you guys as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me just make sure this is all working. Do that. That seems to be working. Good. Well, I'm excited today because I get to talk about two of my favorite things. One is sales. If you know me, you know I love sales. I love salespeople. I love the sales process. I could sit and watch and geek out on sales training videos all day long. And then my favorite book, the book that literally changed my life, the timeless success principles of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This exact copy of the book, it didn't look like this when I was given to it. It was 1990 into 1991. I had started my first business. I was 22 years old. I was a high school dropout. I took a couple $100, started a cleaning company, and I was going door to door trying to build the business. And I was about a year and a half in, and I was stuck. I was probably making $17,000 a year. I was working, 60 or 70 hours a week. And I walked into a guy's office to try to pitch my cleaning services. And he sat me down. His name was Patrick Hayes. And he said that he would mentor me. And he handed me this book. And for the next 3 years, he took me through this book, word by word, page by page, paragraph by paragraph, chapter by chapter. And when he did that, he said to me, he said, if you're not a millionaire in 5 years, it won't be my fault. It won't be my fault. If you'll do what I show you to do, the way I show you to do it, the number of times I show you to do it, it won't be my fault if you're not a millionaire in 5 years. And within a couple of hundred years, I had made $250,000. And then by the 5-year mark, I had a net worth of $1 million. And then it's shot up ever since. And this book has literally transformed my entire life. It was my guide to breaking through all of my limitations. And so I've now kind of taken Hill's original work and I've distilled it into 10 specific sales growth principles that really align with what I teach inside our Martinelli sales method. Now, again, as many of you know, we've got about an hour of teaching today, and then we're going to do Q&A. And I always say, I don't have at my command the time to go through everything. But what I am going to do is I'm going to walk you through 3 of these principles that I've identified that are probably the easiest for you to pick up and walk today. And my promise is, if you just apply even one of these 3 that I'm going to talk about today, that it will make a difference in your next sales call. It will make a difference not only in how you feel, it will make a difference in your results. I guarantee it. But, you have to apply it. But before we dive in, I also want you to know that at the end of this, I'm not just going to be dumping content here. I'm going to open up for live Q&A. So real-time sales coaching, real-time sales mentoring. And I think I'm a good person to learn from. I always say, if you're going from here to there in your life and you want to change your life, what you learn matters. But I believe who you learn from matters too. Like when Patrick gave me this book, I don't know that anybody else would have been able to reach me but Patrick. And I believe that I've earned this right to be able to help you because I've lived these principles. I've walked these principles. For the last 35 years of my life, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 22 years old. And I've created, managed, and overseen the sales process, scripting, offer development, the delivery of the services of over $1 billion in sales revenue with people from all over the world in 162 different countries in every single imaginable industry from every walks of life. So when it comes to Q&A time, I'm not only do I want to help you, I can help you. So if a question comes up as we go along, as we go through this, just jot it down. If you hit what I call, a pen grabbing moment, if you have an aha moment, mark it, write it down. If you and then we can discuss it further after the teaching. If something clicks to you, right, and you understand the principle and you see the gist of it, but you don't know how you would apply it to your offer, bring it forward after the call and during the Q&A. My promise is I'll be the last guy standing. I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna help you, and I'm gonna coach you through and mentor you through any sales challenge or question you have, because I don't want this just to be a workshop. I want this to be a chance for you and I to kind of work together, for you to get direct mentoring on the exact challenges that you face. And I want you to walk away not only with the clarity and understanding of how to apply the principle, but with the momentum, okay? So let me start by defining what sales is as we define it in the Martinelli sales method, because again, I don't believe that you can really learn something if you don't understand it and if you can't define it. So sales at its highest level is the transference of emotion. It's the transference of emotion. So let's just camp out there for a minute, because if we think about it, as human beings, I think all of us would agree, we are spiritual beings. We're gifted with an intellect, and we live in and through a physical body. So we're simultaneously living on three planes of existence. But the GPS system that kind of guides us and navigates us when we're thinking correctly, feeling correctly, behaving correctly, is our emotional state. We are emotional beings. And our emotions, if we think about it, is the expression of our body and our thinking and our spiritual energy. We call it emotion. It's energy in motion. It's energy that's being expressed. So we're saying that sales at its highest level is the transference of this emotion. When people buy, they buy on emotion. What's motivating the behavior to buy, to say yes, is emotion. It's not information. Write that down. It's not information. You're going to hear me say this over and over and over and over again. Something that Rick Roberto pounds away in all of our sales training is that telling is not selling. Giving somebody facts and figures and giving them all the information and talking about the features and benefits, that doesn't sell somebody. That gives them information and knowledge, but that doesn't drive behavior. Emotion does. I always give the example of the, 65-year-old middle-aged guy who, all of his life he dreamed about owning, a sports car, a convertible sports car. He's wanted it all his life. And now all of a sudden he hits 62 or 63 and now he's got enough money. And he goes down to the dealership and he buys this candy apple red sports car convertible and pulls into this driveway. And his wife comes out like, what? Like $110,000 car. And he gets out and starts telling her about the great gas mileage and safety features, right? He starts telling her about all the features and benefits to justify the emotional decision. So sales occurs, a sale occurs when there's a transference of emotion. And the primary emotion isn't enthusiasm. It's not excitement. It's not even want, wish, or desire. It's certainty. It's certainty. Think about the last purchase you made that was $1,000 or more. You didn't make that decision to spend $1,000 or more when you were in doubt, when you weren't when you weren't sure. In order for you to make that decision, you had to feel the emotion of certainty. You had to know that that the person you were talking to knew what they were talking about and understood your problem. You had to be certain of them. You had to be certain that whatever the product, the widget, or the service was going to solve your problem or fulfill your need. You had to be certain of that. And you had to be certain that the company that was standing behind the product or the service or the sales professional was going to be there if something went wrong. 3 tenths of certainty. And I think this is key. And you'll see as we continue how we talk about the development of certainty and the transference of certainty. It's going to come up over and over again during the entire training. So sales at its highest level is the transference of emotion. The primary emotion is certainty. And if we're transferring emotion of certainty to the buyer, the only place your prospect, your buyer can get certainty is from you, which means you have to have certainty in you, in what you're selling. You got to believe in what you're selling. You have to have absolute certainty in who you are, in what you bring to the table, the value that you bring. Like I said, who you learn from matters. And you have to believe that, like there's lots of sales training you can have, but I certainly believe in me. I certainly believe that the best person you can learn from in sales is me. I have a level of certainty, a self-belief that's not arrogance, it's awareness. And so I'm going to transfer that to my prospect. And you need to be able to transfer it to your prospect. So with that in mind, let's jump to the first principle that we're going to talk about. Remember, we're looking at 3 principles from the Think and Grow Rich book that I believe are fundamentals of sales. So here's the first one. And it's, you can't sell You can't sell and serve someone when you're in resentment. You can't do it. Now, that may sting a little bit, but you know it's true. You can't sell and serve when you're in a state of resentment, not because you don't care about people, not because you're not talented, and not because you don't understand the market. It's because resentment blocks belief. And belief is the foundation of all influence, and it's what creates certainty. How can you have certainty if you don't believe in yourself? Now, let's define for a moment this word resentment, because I've got a different definition than most people. Most people, when they think of resentment, they think it's of anger. Resentment is this. I'll say it a couple of times. Resentment is any negative emotion. So go ahead and write that. Resentment is any negative emotion, and underline that. It's any negative emotion that you carry, that you feel. So it's any negative emotion that you feel or you carry towards any person, any place, anything, any condition, circumstance, thought, or idea, including yourself and God and the dead. Okay? That's a pretty big definition. It's any negative emotion towards any person, place, thing, condition, circumstance, thought, or idea. It's the human state. We're all going to face resentment every single day. Can you have resentment against your goal or your dream? Sure, because if you can be afraid of it, if you can be scared of it, you can be unsure of it, if you can be jealous, if you can be envious, if you can be impatient, all of those are negative emotions. So as soon as you hold a negative emotion, you begin this process of breaking down your self-belief. In other words, you move away from certainty. Now, it might show up as frustration. You might be frustrated with the way things should be. The lead should be better. The market should be better. The prospect should be better. It could be bitterness towards others who have what maybe you don't. It could be guilt about maybe you receiving more than maybe you think you're worth, or you see other people struggling and you don't think it's fair that you're doing so well, or you're doing more than you're doing better than anybody else in your family. Resentment could even show up as doubt, whether you think you're worthy of what it is that you really want. But here's what I want you to hear, is that every ounce of this negative energy, every ounce of resentment that you carry towards money, can you have a resentment towards money? Absolutely. Can you have a resentment towards success? For sure. Think of a negative emotion. Could you have a resentment towards people who are rich, towards yourself in the sales conversations? See, here's what I want you to understand is that whenever you're holding on to a resentment, and there's people who resent rich people. I've had them come up to try to sell me, and I could just tell that people just thought I was just some rich guy that got lucky. And I could feel their energy when they're coming to my house to try to sell me a service. You're not hiding it. You can feel it. You felt it from other people. When there's something wrong with somebody, you can just feel something's wrong. You say, "What's wrong?" "No, I'm fine." You know they're not fine. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, sure, everything's good." You know they're not good. You can't hide that. You leak that energy. And I'm telling you, your prospects can feel it. They can feel when you don't like them. They can feel whenever you're withholding your own discretionary goodwill. And when it comes into sales, I see this kind of resentment energy show up in two main areas that sabotage salespeople's results. First is there's a resentment towards money and wealth. So if you were raised like I was, around messages and around people, my mom, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, is that the only way rich people got rich was that they didn't pay their fair share. That rich people are greedy, and that the only way that rich people got ahead was that they took advantage of people like our family. That's what I was programmed to believe. I was programmed to believe that, God was some, cosmic gambler, that he made some people lucky and other people unlucky, and we were just one of the unlucky ones. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have a resentment, just kind of buried away, just old programming. And this resentment also shows up when people get caught up with this incessant search for fairness. When we all know, I think we all know there is no such thing as fair. There never was, and there never will be. I can tell you in my own personal life, I've had some bad things happen to me. I grew up in an abusive family. That wasn't fair. My father left our family when my mom was 3 months pregnant with me. That wasn't fair. But I've also had some good things happen to me. I've had some doors open for me. I've had some privileges given upon me. That wasn't fair either. I didn't do anything to deserve them. So if fair is a real thing, then my question to you would be, who's going to be the arbitrator of fairness? Who's going to determine what's fair? It's not fair that somebody has that much money. I can remember, sitting down watching TV, and we were watching, my mom, my grandmother, we were watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Remember it? Right? Robin Leach. They're wealthy, they're rich. And my grandmother saying, no, nobody should have that kind of money. Nobody needs an 18-room mansion. Nobody should. Well, somebody does. Somebody does have that. Somebody does make $1 million, Grandma. Nobody's worth that amount of money. She didn't think it was fair. See, I think if there's an arbitrator of fairness, it should be me. I should be the person who says what's fair in the world. I think I'm an honest guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm a fair guy. So look, should I be in charge of what's fair? But let me guess. If I tell you that I'm going to be in charge of who's fair, then you probably don't think that's fair, do you? You think maybe you should be. Because it's not fair, and it can never be fair. So we hold on to these stupid resentments and thoughts about money, about other people, based on fairness and based on programming. We can have resentments about our price. Don't charge too much. Be fair. Just make a fair profit. I'll talk to people when I'm first mentoring on them, and they say, "Well, I'm not looking to make. It's not about money for me." Well, then go work for a nonprofit. You're going to step into a business as an entrepreneur. It better be about money for you. That's how you're going to keep score. Money's going to be a direct measurement of the value you bring. The more value you bring, you can't stop money from flowing to you if you give value. Well, I just want to make a fair profit. What's a fair profit? Or like my grandmother, nobody needs to be that rich. I think many of us have money can't make you happy. Well, let me tell you this. Everybody wants to find out for themselves, right? Everybody wants to find that out for themselves. So if these resentments are kind of running in the background of your belief system, then anytime you try to sell anything, especially transformational or high-ticket offers, your subconscious mind runs interference. Just kind of whispers into your awareness, like, who do you think you are to charge that much? They're not going to pay that. Don't be too confident, though. You're going to sound arrogant. And then suddenly, the very transformation that you're trying to offer gets filtered through this frequency of guilt or scarcity or hesitation. Here's a question. Do you think that the energy of guilt, scarcity, or hesitation matches the energy of certainty? I certainly don't. And then there's this second layer of money resentment. And I think this one is probably even deeper. Like if the first one doesn't kill you, this one comes right after it. And it's the resentment that we carry towards ourselves. It shows up about us doubting our ability, the imposter syndrome, questioning our worth, minimizing our own experiences, minimizing and marginalizing the value we bring, comparing ourselves to real experts. It's so interesting that when we start in the Martinelli method, the program is broken down into four pieces. And the first syllabus is called the messenger, where we're going to talk about you, and we're going to challenge, like, what do you really believe about you? What do you believe about the market? What do you believe about the value you bring? And I ask people, what are you an expert in? And it's like nobody wants to say, well, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. Well, then go get better. Well, I don't know that I'm an authority. And see, what they do is they think that for some reason that level of humility earns them points in the market. Like, oh wow, he's so humble, or she's so humble. Adrian Rogers said, that's not humility. That's rebellion. Like if you have the potential to be the true expert, if you have the potential to be an authority, if you've been given the gifts to develop yourself and you're not developing them, why are you wasting God's gift to you? And I see and I hear it all the time. People come into the program and they diminish their successes, and they diminish their achievements because they don't want to be seen as arrogant. They don't want people to judge them. It sounds like, I'm not ready yet, or I'm not enough. There's only two fears in the world, right? That every other fear comes from I'm not enough and I don't have enough. Or I'm not the kind of person who gets to succeed like that. I believe that. The first half of my life, I sabotaged myself because I truly believed that I didn't deserve the success that would have come because I hadn't gone to college. And you'll never amount to anything unless you get a formal education. I took the lazy way out. And lazy people shouldn't be successful. That was my belief system. I truly believe that about me. I don't want to come across as salesy, or, I don't want people to think that I'm just in it for the money. Or, I'm going to start small and we'll kind of just see what happens. Or, for me, it's all about the mission. It's not about money. It's about the mission. Well, let me tell you, the word mission is in the word commission. There is no mission without commission. You can't have a mission without money. A mission without money is worthless. It's worthless. What good is it to have this mission and you lack the money to be able to affect change? Mother Teresa understood it. She took a vow of personal poverty, but she was one of the wealthiest women in the world. She was so rich she didn't need money. She could point to a piece of land in Calcutta, and billionaires around the world would fight over who was going to build her the hospital. That's how much influence she had. But she understood she couldn't help people with an empty basket. She needed the basket filled. And she got really good at developing really meaningful relationships with really wealthy people in order for her mission to survive. It's not about the money, it's about the mission. Well, then you better get serious about earning commission. This is not humility when you do this. It's resentment. It's resentment of your own identity, and it's resentment of your own worth. And here's the consequence. If you resent money, if you resent people who have it, if you resent the process, if you're going to buy into the narrative of today that, the rich people are evil and we're going to go all against, capitalism. There's an alternative. Go look at it in Cuba. Go look at it in Venezuela. If you're going to resent money, you will sabotage your sales. If you resent yourself, you will never allow yourself to succeed. Because remember, you don't get what you want in your life. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you are allowed to have, what you are worthy of. So now let's tie this in to a principle that Napoleon Hill talks about. So again, for those of you who aren't familiar, Think and Grow Rich is a result of interviews that Napoleon Hill did with 25,000 people over a 20-year period. 500 of them were the wealthiest, most successful people of the time. He's interviewing them during the early 1910s, 20s, publishes the book in 1937, okay? Right during, publishes this in the midst of the Depression. But he interviews and studies Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, Alexander Graham Bell, the Wright brothers, four U.S. presidents. I'm talking heavy hitters. And at the end of all that, he says, I've come to the conclusion that it wasn't that these people had an abundance of generalized or specialized knowledge that led them to great success. It's that they had developed the intellectual faculties of their mind. In other words, the way that they thought. They developed the intellectual faculties of the mind to such a degree that they could create, manifest, or attract anything they wanted in their life, here's the kicker, without violating the rights of other people. And so he identifies 13 principles that all of these men and women had in common. And each one of them is a chapter in the book. I'll give you a hint. There's not a chapter that says go to college and get a good education. There is one on faith. There's not a chapter about, inheriting money or getting, starting with money or being rich or being able to, have access to markets. No, but there is a chapter on desire. There's not a chapter on luck. There's a chapter on imagination. And so in this book, Think and Grow Rich, he tells us very early in the book, he says that there's a secret hidden in the book. And he says the secret's hidden in every chapter. And he says if you can find the secret in the book, you can have anything you want in your life. And then he gives us a hint. He says this is in the preface of the book, and this is in my book it's on page 15. He says, as a final word of preparation before you begin the first chapter, may I offer one brief suggestion which may provide a clue by which the Carnegie secret, remember that the book is based on his interview with Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was the wealthiest man in the world at the time. Carnegie says that this secret can be recognized. He said it is that all achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. An idea. Any idea will work. He says, if you are ready for the secret, you already possess one half of it. If you already possess one half of it, therefore, you will readily recognize the other half the moment it reaches your mind. See, knowing what you want is half of it. Having the vision and knowing, okay, this is the direction I'm going. The other half is the belief in certainty. It's the belief in certainty. So you have to know what it is that you want, and you have to have the belief in certainty about yourself to create it, about yourself. So as much as you choose the dream is choosing you. How many people actually know what it is that they want? Most people don't. Most people can give you a wandering generality. Yes, most people, they say, I want more money. So I give them a $5 bill and it says, is that it? Well, no, that's not really what they have in mind, but $5 is more, but that's not specific enough. Most people can tell you what they don't want. Look, when Patrick asked me, when he was taking me through this book, what do you want? Well, I don't want to miss rent. I don't want my car to break down. I don't want to live in struggle anymore. I don't want to stay stuck. I don't want to live mouth to mouth, month to month. But see, that's not clarity. That's not clarity. That's avoidance. And Hill says you have to know what you truly want, not what's safe for you, not what's safe for you to go pursue, not what's risky. Because again, here's what I have found, and I've mentored literally. Some of you have known me for 12, 15 years. I've mentored tens of thousands of people. And what I've found is that most people have desires up here and levels of willingness here. They'll tell me, look, I'll do whatever is necessary. But then when the time comes to do it, to take the risk, to invest the money, to go out and cold call, to start, to share your dream with other people. They're not ready, or that's not right. They're not quite ready to do. Their willingness to do what's necessary is far short of their desire. Again, it's not what other people. It's not what your spouse wants or what your parents want. It's not what other people approve of. It's what do you want? Because clarity of your desire is the first step towards certainty. That's what aligned selling and breaking the pattern of resentment all begins. Now, it doesn't stop there, it starts there. And he'll also tells us, this is on page 41, and this is in the chapter on desire. This is on page 41. He says, there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. He says, no one is ready for a thing. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief, not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds do not inspire faith, courage, or belief. Remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. The state of mind must be belief, because that gives you the certainty. That's what sales is. Sales then is, I know what I want, I know my value, I believe in who I am, I believe in the value I bring, I believe in my offering, I believe in my ability to understand and be empathetic to your wants and needs, and I believe in the company or organization to back it up. I believe I can help you. And sales is when I can transfer that level of certainty towards you. And you know that I understand what your problem is. You know that I'm empathetic to your wants and desires. You know that I'm integrous. You know that I'm in alignment. And when a person has that level of belief, all things being equal and sometimes being unequal, there have been times, like, I'm not the cheapest guy in the world to do business with. I know that. I'm not looking to be the cheapest guy in the world. That's not my goal. I know people have paid more for me, but I also believe they got more. I believe they got what they paid for. I'm not competing on price, and neither should you. The state of mind that you have to have, it must be belief, because belief creates certainty, and sales is the transference of the emotion of certainty. So the first half is that you know absolutely what it is that you want with clarity. And then the second half is that you have to be bulletproof in your belief. And he develops this idea of desire because desire is just a starting point. You also have to believe in your ability and your right to have it. That I'm worthy of it. Like, I truly believe that the richer you get, I believe that everybody around you becomes richer. I believe that I believe that when that a rising tide truly does lift all boats. That if you really want to fight poverty in this world, the best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them. That's the best thing you can do. At its lowest level, your success will inspire others. I cannot tell you the number of times people have come up to me and said, you know what, geez, I'm a high school dropout. I'm a stutterer. I spent the first half of my life as stuck in a stuttering pattern. I've had people come up and say, man, I was emotionally and physically abused too. And wow, what you said today really inspired. I'm going to change my life. Yeah, it's not just a belief in your product. That absolutely matters, but it's not enough. I'm talking about belief and certainty in yourself, that you are capable, that you are valuable, That when somebody, all think like when somebody buys whatever it is that you're selling, that when they buy it from you, there's a value that you bring. There's a value in doing business with you, that you're worthy of a result. Because I'm telling you, your prospect can feel it. You feel it. You feel it. So whatever you feel and believe about yourself, you're always transmitting that out to the universe. People feel it. Now, they may not be able to identify it. They may not be able to put their finger on it, and they may not even tell you about it. They may smile and say, this is great. Thank you so much. Send me a proposal. And then, you think you've got your best friend in the world when you leave the sales call. You think, geez, that couldn't have gone better. And then all of a sudden, the next day, your best friend turns into Casper the Friendly Ghost because you're calling them in crickets. People can feel it. They don't tell you it, but you leave the room and they look over to their colleague and say, I don't know, I just don't get a good vibe from that person. What's that mean? I don't get a good vibe. That means that they're consciously aware that there's a negative vibration. They don't know what it is, but it's just your energy doesn't match the certainty that they have. Even if you say the right words. Even if you could say all the right words, but if you're saying them from a place of doubt, they'll hear the hesitation and they'll walk away. See, people want to buy from people who have absolute certainty. They want to buy from people who are rock solid in their belief about themselves. Holly and I are doing a renovation in our backyard. It's quite the undertaking. This is $1 million renovation to the back of our property. I spent nearly $250,000 on statues to go into the back of the property. And now we've got to install those statues. Well, one of them is almost 8 feet tall, weighs 6,000 pounds, coming from Italy. It was an estate in Florence. And now I'm interviewing people who can help install them. And there's one guy that I talked to, and in the first, 17 seconds of the call, I knew he was the guy. He just had absolute certainty in his ability to be able like I was asking him the first couple of questions, and he just interrupted me and said, hey, look, I do this every day of my life. And I know this is new for you, and I know you got a lot of money invested in this, and I know you got a million questions and you're unsure, but I do all the work for the Miami Museum. I do all the work for the Norton Gallery. I did all the work for Dale Chihuly's for all of his glass library. So you're in good hands. I know for you, this is a big project, but I'm absolutely sure we're going to be able to get you through this. So just relax. Like what's the biggest challenge you have? And that was it. He's been in the house 4 times. He's brought in 4 or 5 guys over. They got an entire plan. He's about 25% more expensive than everybody else, and I could care less. He is so rock solid in his belief and his ability to deliver on the promises. Let me give you an idea of a way to think about this. And it's the idea of cybernetics, right? Cybernetics it comes from the work of Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He was a reconstructive plastic surgeon. And he worked on people who were either born with a birth defect that disfigured their face, or people who were injured in an industrial accident and injured their face. And as a result of this disfigurement, they were living their life with this feeling of inferiority, right? This complex that they're not good enough, they're not worthy enough, they're not beautiful. And he developed this work. This is the 1960s. In the 1960s, this was transformational. He realized that he could change the outer appearance of them And yet 2 years later, the person would still be suffering from the inferiority complex. And he could show them before and after pictures, and you could see it. And then he realized, it clicked on him, I have changed the outer image, but I never changed the image that they hold of themselves in their mind. So it's called psycho-cybernetics. Psyche is the Greek word for mind. Cybernetics is the science of control and behavior in electrical systems. So think about the heating and cooling in your house. So we think of what a thermostat is. I live in Florida. Our second floor of our house gets warm. Hot air rises. So I can go to the thermometer, and the thermometer will tell me the upstairs of the house might be 78 degrees. Now I can click and flick that thing all I want. I'm never going to change the temperature in the room. What I have to do is I have to go to the thermostat, because the thermostat controls the programming of the unit. And so I can take the thermostat and I can lower the temperature down to 68 degrees. And as soon as I do, instantly and automatically, the cooling system of the house goes to work. It measures the deviation between 68 degrees and 78 degrees. It sends a message through the wiring system of the house down to the outside unit, turns on a blower, releases freon gas, and one of two things happens. Either the house is brought to 68 degrees or the machine blows up trying to get there. The thermostat controls everything. So that's kind of cybernetics. But this works in us too. So even when you want more, like, let's be honest. How many of you would want more money? Just show of hands. Let's, how many of you are going to participate here? Come on. Yeah. Okay. So even when you want more, even when you know the script, even when you've learned all the tips and tricks, and even when you're right in front of the person to sell and you've got the opportunity, if your internal thermostat, which in you and me is your self-image, it's your self-image, it's how you see yourself. It's also your self-esteem. That's your personal self-regard. So my self-image is the image I see of me and I believe you see me as. Self-esteem is my personal self-regard, how I value me and how I teach you to value me. The composite of my self-image and the composite of my self-esteem, we bring those together, that creates my self-identity. And if your self-identity, if your program is still set like mine was to struggle, to I'll never amount to anything, to boy, in order for me to get ahead, I'm going to have to work really hard. That was my belief. I'm going to have to like kill myself to be successful. If that's your programming, that programming will not allow yourself to rise. It won't allow yourself to outperform your setting. You'll ghost the follow-up. You'll lower your price and you'll say, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. You'll go off script. You'll go off to Pluto. You'll break rapport. You'll back off when you know you should have leaned in. Not because you're weak, but because you're not a match internally for the result that you say you want. Like how many of you, let's just be really, just do a checkup from the neck up here. How many of you know right now that you have more potential than this year's tax return showed? Like how many of you know you're worth more money than you made last year? Raise your hand. You know you're worth more. And yet for some reason, there's some reason why you didn't do it. And I assure you, I don't know what you do. I don't know the kind of work you're in, but I guarantee you, if you and I sat down for about 20 minutes and you told me how much money you made, I could show you somebody who's in your exact field, probably in your same market, who made more than you and who's not any sharper, who's not any smarter, who doesn't have more knowledge. They think differently of themselves. Take a look at history. I mean, it's filled. Abraham Lincoln, think about him. He was born into poverty. He had almost no formal education. He wrote in his journal about how he carried these deep insecurities whenever he would meet men of status. When he would meet men of status or men of means. When he became a lawyer, he notoriously undercharged for his services. He avoided collecting payment, so he would provide service, and then he wouldn't go back and collect the payment because he didn't feel worthy of them. He felt guilty about making money. And his law partner said that Lincoln had to learn, how to believe in himself. He had to learn how to overcome this feeling of insecurity. Think about this. It's about us developing an identity of someone who is worthy, someone who's worthy of authority. Here he is trying to be president. Most of you know the story. He tried and failed because he never saw himself as a person worthy of the power and authority. We see this all the time. We see this in the outward results that we get in our own lives all the time. Lincoln had to grow into the role of becoming Abraham Lincoln. But what we don't see in Lincoln's story is we don't see the change that he had to make in his own self-belief to eventually achieve his goal. All the internal work that he had to do himself, for himself, in order for him to first see himself as worthy of everything that he wanted, and then the world saw it before he ever could become president. Again, we have these idioms, we have these belief systems. Don't be greedy. You'll never make it without a degree, or you got to be realistic. So Napoleon Hill tells us, this is on page 111. This is in the chapter on imagination. Let me just go to it. He says, if you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring you riches, I was one of those people. I believe, what my grandmother said was, you've got to work hard. You got to do honest work if you're going to get ahead. But listen what he says. He says, if you're one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring you riches, he says, perish the thought. It is not true. He says, riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work alone. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by luck or chance. Generally speaking, an idea is an impulsive thought that impels action and creates an appeal to the imagination. All master salesmen know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. Ordinary salesmen do not know this, and that is why they are ordinary. Think about that. That is why they are ordinary. And so that's the kind of shift that we're talking about. This isn't just something that you're thinking about. This isn't just something you kind of flirt with. This is something you've got to buy into. And it's hard because this isn't about hustle culture. This is about choosing your identity. It's about choosing who you're going to be, what you're going to stand for, what it is that you value. Again, he says, if you're one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring you riches, perish that thought. Because that's what I believed. That's what I believed for years. That, in order for me to get rich, I was going to have to work so hard. It was going to be really hard. I was going to have to work long hours. And the truth is, when I really broke free and I really started to make a large amount of money, I was working a lot less hours than I was when I was mopping floors and cleaning toilets. See, it's about choosing how you see yourself. and how you see the world, because sales doesn't reward effort. It rewards belief in action. So here's what I want you to do and what I want you to remember. If you resent money, you will reject sales. And if you resent yourself and your own success, you will reject success. Because resentment, any negative emotion, automatically cancels your ability to receive what it is that you say you want. So, like, what do you really want? And then you begin to reprogram this new belief. And it starts with one simple daily practice. And this comes right out of the playbook for the Martinelli sales method. Take 5 minutes each morning. Just try this for a week and answer these two questions in writing. Okay? Here's the first question I want you to write down. What result do I want to create for my client today? What result do I want to create for my clients today? What's the outcome that you want for your clients? And then number two, what must I believe? What do I have to believe about myself in order to help them receive that result? Don't just think it. I want you to write it. Because when you write, you activate belief. You start resetting that thermostat, the rethermostat. See, what you write, you invite. And if you want to sell at a much higher level, you have to live at this higher frequency of belief, because you can't sell and serve when you're carrying resentment. You've got to let all of those old limiting beliefs go. And when you do, everything opens up. See, after all, you can't receive what you resent. Write that down. You can't receive what you resent. Let's jump into number two. And again, for all of you, there's a guide. There is a link in the chat, and it's the Sales Breakthrough Workshop, and you can download the guide. So number two, the principle is that you can't wing it. You can't fake it, and you absolutely can't rush it. Okay? You can't do that with sales, right? Sales is a skill. Just like learning to play an instrument, learning to play a sport, learning to become a plumber, an electrician, a dancer, a martial artist. Sales is a learnable and it's a teachable, it's a trainable skill, but you have to do the work. And again, in the book Think and Grow Rich, he makes it really clear. He makes it really clear that is key to you turning your desire into reality. Is that you have to come from this place of power. But my question is where does the power come from? So he has a chapter. Remember, each chapter in the book is a principle of success. There's 13 chapters. This comes from the chapter on specialized knowledge. It's on page 85 in my book. Let me find it here.
Hey everyone, it seems we are running into some technical difficulties, so Paul will be just back in just 1 second. So give us just one moment. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're back, I think. Are we back? We must have had a surge at our house and everything died. Oh my goodness. But I think we're back. Let me just do this. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I just need to make sure we got everything regrouped here. We go to that. Let me go to this. Okay. Megan, turn on your camera so I can see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I've gotcha.
Okay, very. All right. Augustine.
Yeah.
I need the cord for the power to plug into my computer.
You need what? Oh,
Plug in my computer. Okay. So where were we? We were where Napoleon Hill talks about, and this comes from the chapter on specialized knowledge. And he says, let me come back here and just back this up a little bit. So we're talking about principle number 2. And principle number 2 is you can't fake it. You can't fake it in sales. You can't pretend that you know what you're talking about. You can't pretend that you've got the confidence. You can't pretend that you've got the certainty. People can feel it. But it is a trainable, sales is a trainable skill, just like anything else, right? If you're going to learn how to play an instrument, if you're going to learn how to play a sport, you have to accumulate the knowledge and you have to exert the power. And so Napoleon Hill is sitting down and he's interviewing Carnegie. And he asks Carnegie, what is necessary for a person to accumulate a fortune? How does that happen? How does somebody develop the personal power? And here's what Hill says. This is on page 85. It's in the chapter Specialized Knowledge. He says this. He says, the accumulation of great fortunes calls for power. And power is acquired through highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. Highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. Now, here's the key. He says, but the knowledge doesn't need to be in the possession of the man who accumulates the fortune. In other words, you don't have to have the knowledge to start. You don't have to know all the answers. Like, I don't know how to build what they're building in my backyard. I don't have the answers, but I do know I needed an architect. I do know I needed an engineer. I did know I needed a designer. I did know I needed a concrete guy. I knew I needed a plumber, an electrician, a roofer. See, power is not charm. It's not guessing. It's not showing up and hoping that things work out. And I think this is an important thing for us to note. You don't have to be in the possession of the knowledge. You just need to know where to access it. And that's what all of you are doing here today. You're accessing my knowledge in sales to increase your results. On page 83, Napoleon Hill says, knowledge is only potential power. It's only potential power. It only becomes power when it's organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. That's what he's talking about. Knowledge is only potential power. I mean, what good is it? And we see people all the time. They take course after course after course after course. And then they go and they go back to work and they start doing the job. And all of a sudden their results go right back down. And the manager, the owner says, "Oh, but you know better." And they say, "I know." "Well, why don't you do it?" "I don't know." "But you went to the course." "I know." "You got certified." "I know." You learned all the closing techniques." "I know." "You learned the script." "I know." "Well, why aren't you closing?" "I don't know." It's because they never changed their inner belief. You could gather all the knowledge. But if it's not applied to a specific purpose with a definite plan, if it's not organized, intelligently directed, if it's not coming from a place of certainty, people feel it. Let's be honest. Too many people try to fake it until they make it in sales. They memorize a script, they smile, they think they're saying all the right lines, but inside they have a level of uncertainty. Maybe it is imposter syndrome. Maybe they don't feel that they're worthy. but it comes across as shallow. Because they haven't done the work. They haven't done the work. And they know they haven't done the work. And because they haven't done the work, it shows. Like the idiom that the world can spot a phony a mile away is a truism for a reason. I mean, you're seeing that you're seeing that in action right now. You got hundreds of people on the call. Nobody in my position wants to see everything collapse. And here I am. I've got hundreds of people on a live call, and boom, the camera dies, the computer dies, everything dies. Like we must have got a spike of lightning or something. What was it? It was 90 seconds. Boom, we're right back at it. Let's go. Because I'm not faking this. I've done this. I've lived this. I'm a pro. A pro is at their best regardless. People can spot a phony a mile away. Either you are or you aren't. And here's the good news. The good news is this, is that you don't have to be great to get started. Like, you don't have to be the best in the world. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to start to be great. You have to start somewhere. Look at Julia Child, right? She didn't start cooking till she was 40 years old. She wasn't born into success, and it certainly didn't come naturally, certainly if you watch some of her earlier shows. But what she did was she developed this passion she had for French food. She had a passion for it. And she enrolled in culinary school at like 42 years old, and then she studied with top chefs. She paid whatever price. And again, watch some of her early shows. They're hysterical because back then they didn't remove the bloopers. So she would take a souffle out and it would pop right on the countertop. But she kept going and she practiced and she did it for years before she ever published her first book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking. She only became a household name because she respected the craft enough to be trained and enough to become the authority and the expert. If you've ever watched an interview with her, and I would encourage you to go back and watch some of these people. When I share these stories, watch these people. Watch an interview with her. Watch one with Johnny Carson. She is an absolute authority. She's an expert. And all kinds of things go wrong. The lights fall, the microphones fall. All kinds of things go wrong in the studio while she's filming her show, and she's just perfect. She didn't fake her way into becoming America's most trusted voice in culinary. She earned it. And that's what Hill is telling us right here. You don't need to have all the knowledge, but you do need to know where to go access it. You got to have a plan. You got to have a strategy. Highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. That's what we've created with our sales program. It's highly organized, it's intelligently directed, and it's all the specialized knowledge you need to be able to master the art. You need a plan, you need a strategy, you need a mentor, you need a process. And you need the humility to say, look, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm willing to do whatever it is that it takes to get there. And I'm going to tell you, what it's going to take is probably more than you think right now. When I started my journey into personal growth, I certainly didn't realize that I was going to spend, well over $1 million in my own development, in books and seminars and workshops and private mentoring. I've shared the story of, I've hired Lisa Sasevich before, $25,000 for an hour to ask her 3 questions. Why? Because she had the experience and the expertise I needed for an event I was doing. And if I wanted my result, I had to go and find the person who had the knowledge. So let me pause here and just give you something that's directly out of our curriculum. In the sales process, it's not about pressuring somebody, right? It's not about, navigating the conversation so you force them into a yes, where you say, well, do you want to meet on Tuesday or Thursday, right? And so I'm limiting their choices. It's not about that. It's about clarity. It's about clarity. It's about clarity of purpose. It's about clarity of outcome. It's about clarity of value. And it's about clarity of who you are, because clarity comes from mastery. It comes from mastery. It comes from this level of absolute certainty. And so if you know next week you've got a sales call, or if you don't have a sales call lined up, but you know if a call were to come in next week that you'd be winging it, which means you're unclear. If you're still guessing, what should I say? If you're guessing like what order should I do things, it means that you haven't been trained. If you're still hoping that maybe your true talent will shine on the call, or maybe they'll see your true giftedness, you haven't developed the skill of communicating your value. And skill is what separates top producers from everybody else. So let's go to Hills. Hill tells a story, and it's probably my favorite in the book. He's talking about a guy named Edwin Barnes, and Barnes wants to go into business with Thomas Edison. Now, let me be really clear. He's not looking for a job. But Barnes wasn't going to meet Edison and ask for a job. He was asking to be his partner. And I guess I have a love for this story because in 2010, I went to have lunch with John Maxwell. And I wasn't going there for a job interview. I wasn't going to ask John, hey, can I work with you, or can I work with your team? Can I manage? I was going with John asking for a partnership. I wanted to be John's partner. So Barnes goes to meet Edison. He's got no money. He's got no connection. He doesn't even have an invitation. At least I had an invitation with John. But he showed up anyways. And it's fascinating. This is on page 34 in the book. And this is on the chapter on desire. And he says here, he went to East Orange and he did not say to himself, I will try to induce Edison to give me a job of some sort. He said, I will see Edison and I will put him on notice that I have come to go into business with him, that I've gone into business with him. He did not say, I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity in case this one fails. I will get what I want in the Edison organization. I will be Edison's partner. He said, there is but one thing in this world that I am determined to have, and that is a business association with Thomas A. Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. That is all there is to the Barnes story of success. He wasn't faking this. This was faith in action. See, that's the kind of student who becomes the master. Now contrast that with the myth that many of us are taught, like just do honest and hard work, or good things come to those who wait. Barnes could have waited the rest of his life and would never have gotten the partnership that he got with Edison. You know, put your head down and do your best. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm not saying that you don't have to work hard. I'm not saying that you don't have to put your head down. I'm saying you got to do all of those things, but that's not enough. Because in all of that, there's still a spirit, there's still an energy that precedes that. And that energy is felt by people. And again, that energy is certainty. And again, I shared before, let's go to the chapter on imagination. This is on page 111. And he says this: if you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone bring riches, perish the thought. Remember this? Remember this quote? He says it's not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work alone. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based on the application of definite purpose, not by luck or chance. Generally speaking, an idea is an impulse of thought that impels us to action, an appeal to the imagination. And all master salesmen know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. It's not about hard work. See, riches come in response to definite demands based on the application of definite principles. That's the difference between people who try to sell and people who train to sell. There's a lot of people who try it, but they've never been trained. And what I mean by training is this is where you gather information, you go out and you execute. That's where real learning happens. That's where the training comes in. Gathering information is not training. Neither is just activity. That's not training. Activity is when you've gathered knowledge and then you've tested it through action, and then you have an outcome, you have a result, and then it's the feedback from the result that enters you back into the training loop. That says, okay, this is a result. I need to get better. That's what we teach in the Martinelli method. We don't treat sales like it's a personality trait. We treat it like it's a profession, like it's a discipline. Like it's an art form, because certainty has to be earned. It has to be created, and you develop it through putting in the time, through putting in the reps. In our empowered living community, we have an amazing woman, Doneen Taylor, and she won the world's title in rodeo, like riding a horse, right? That comes out of the gate, and there's a cow, and you've got to lasso it, get up, tie it. And I think she won the world title at something like at 48 or 50 years old. And I asked her when she was here for our vision retreat, and she said, Mr. Martinelli, it's about the reps. I got my reps in. I trained. You look at, watch the documentary on Michael Phelps. The kid gets up every morning at 2:30, drives an hour, right, to the pool. His mom drives him. And then he's swimming for hours before school. He's getting in the reps. So let me give you just a real shortcut. I think everybody wants shortcuts, and here it is. Everybody wants to close fast. Everybody wants the perfect objection handler, the irresistible, like, what's the one line I can say? And here's what I have to say about shortcuts. The only shortcut in sales is mastery. It's mastery. Anything less than that, people can just sense that you haven't done the work. They can sense that you're not confident. They can sense if you don't really believe what you're saying. They can believe if they can sense if you don't have that level of certainty. So once you master principles, once you master a belief, once you master certainty, then sales stops being something that you perform, and it just becomes somebody you are. You don't have to think about it. It flows naturally. And that energy of seeing somebody who's in the flow, like if you've ever worked with somebody who's in the flow, it's magnetic. You feel it. You're drawn to it. And so I think this is the challenge. Are you guessing? If you were to look at your calls coming up this week, if you've got sales calls this week, are you, like right now, are you certain how those are going to go? Are you certain about the value proposition? Are you certain that you're going to be able to communicate your value, that you're going to be able to understand their needs, their wants, and transfer the emotion of certainty to them, that you're going to be able to solve their problem or get their needs met? Or are you guessing? Like, are you guessing, or are you growing? Because if you're still winging it, they're going to feel that. If you're scared to admit it, and you're not willing to lean into the discomfort that says, I've got to get better, you won't get better. It's not enough for you to have the desire to succeed. Desire doesn't get it done. We're talking about kind of frequency And in the chapter on desire, Hill talks about we start with want or wish, right? People want or wish for something. They hope, right? Like for me, I wanted to get rich. I wanted to make more money. I hoped I would get lucky. I hoped I was living at want or wish. Everybody wants want or wish. I remember Les Brown saying, if want and wish were enough, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. Who doesn't want to be skinny, rich, and happy? But it goes beyond that. It can't be want or wish. And it goes beyond just desire. Everybody desires to be better and to have more and to have greater influence and a greater impact. This is on page 35, and this is in the chapter Desire. He says, every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn the ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by doing so can one be sure of maintaining the state of mind known as a burning desire, which is essential for winning. So let me ask you, what do you need to burn? What habits? What excuses? What story? For me, it was the story that, life isn't fair. I started as a high school dropout and I was abused. I didn't have the money. That was my sad story. I had look, the only thing worse than an excuse is a good one. And I was full of excuses. What excuse, what story, what shortcuts are you trying to hold on to that keeps you from developing this level of mastery? Because if you want to sell at a higher level, you don't get paid when you try. You get paid when you train. That's when you get paid. It's when you learn a tactic, a strategy, a principle, and then intelligently direct it towards a specific purpose, and then jump back in and evaluate the result. Look at the outcome and say, okay, what could I do better? Where do I need to improve? Do an honest assessment of where you're at, and then enter back into the loop. Let's go into the last principle, and then we're going to bring this in for a landing. We're going to jump in and we'll do Q&A. And I think this is where it's probably the most misunderstood, and it's this. You have to stay in the position of authority. You have to stay in the position of authority. You have to stay in the position of being seen as an expert in every interaction with your prospect. Now, I say every interaction because an interaction could be a text message. It could be an email. It could be a voicemail. It could be an in-person meeting. It could be a cold call. Now, I'm not talking about force. And I'm certainly not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about you being an authority. It's that calm, confident energy that just oozes certainty. It says, I know who I am. Like, I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know my value. I know not only do I want to help you, I know I can help you. And when you have that level of like authority, people feel it. They feel it even before you speak. They feel the vibration. They feel your intention. They can feel your certainty. And if you lack it, they feel that too. This isn't like sales fluff. This is a principle that's deeply embedded in what he talks about in Think and Grow Rich. It's one of the core principles. So let's go back to the story of Edwin Barnes, right? He's got no money. He's got no contacts. He's got no invitation. He's got no reason why Edison would ever be taking him seriously. And he travels to East New Jersey for days in the storage compartment of a freight train to meet with Edison. And so he walks into Edison's lab after he jumps off the train. And when he arrives, this is what Hill writes about how Edison described meeting Barnes. So we heard what Barnes was thinking about going to Edison, that he was going to go and he was going for a partnership. He wasn't going there to work. He was going there with a specific person. This is what Edison tells Napoleon Hill about his meeting with Barnes. It's in the chapter on desire. It's on page 32, and it's absolutely brilliant. He says when Edwin C. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in East Orange, New Jersey, more than 50 years ago, he may have resembled a tramp. but his thoughts were those of a king. As he made his way from the railroad tracks to Thomas Edison's office, his mind was at work. He saw himself standing in Edison's presence. He heard himself asking Edison for the opportunity to carry out the one consuming obsession in his life, a burning desire to become the business associate. Barnes' desire was not hope, it was not a wish. It was a keen desire transcended everything with a definite and a purpose. On page 18 in the intro, he says this. So that's the stage in which Edison now says this. He stood there before me like an ordinary tramp. So Edison's seen Barnes after 4 days in a boxcar truck train on a car on a train. And he says, he looks like an ordinary tramp. He says, but there was something. If you've got the book, Thinking We're Rich, I've got mine here. I've got that underlined. He says, but there was something. There was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after. I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he's willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get what he wants, he is sure to win. I gave him the opportunity he asked for because I saw he had made his mind up to stand there until he had succeeded. That's authority. That's certainty. That's like you talk about self-leadership. Barnes didn't go there to work for Edison. He says, I'm going into business with him. That mindset, that self-image, that certainty transferred. I remember when I met with John Maxwell, Jupiter Hills Country Club. Just me, John, Scott Fay, private dining room, having lunch. And here's John Maxwell, the #1 authority in leadership, written hundreds of books, right? He's the top guy, making at that time $75,000 a keynote. Who am I to have the right to come in and talk to John? Now, John's up here. But see, I saw myself worthy. I saw myself worthy. I went in with absolute certainty. I had prepared for that meeting. Those of you who've gone through the sales program, you know the strategy I had in the first 4 seconds of meeting him. And I transferred that certainty, and it created this energetic bridge. And that's what he's talking about here. There was an energetic bridge that allowed Edison to see past Barnes's holy clothes and dirt, looking like a tramp. He felt the conviction beneath it. And this is what you have to understand, that sales is personal self-leadership. It's the highest level of leadership. Sales is the energy transference, and people don't buy because you educate them or you give them features and benefits. People buy because you transfer your certainty and your belief to them, because you stand in certainty long enough for them to borrow it. And that's what we mean in the Martinelli sales method when we say that certainty doesn't come from sounding confident. It comes from being congruent, inside and out. You can't fake that. You either believe it or you don't. So what if you've been playing small? Like me, what if you marginalize yourself? And if you've been playing small, if you've been kind of leading with doubt or playing it safe, or I don't want to be pushy, then let me just be very clear. Certainty isn't pushy. Certainty isn't pushy. Certainty is reassuring. Like when I talked to Jason about the statues, I didn't feel like he was being pushy when he interrupted me. His level of certainty gave me a peace of mind that I was looking for. That's what I wanted to buy. I wanted to buy somebody who could make me feel like this wasn't going to be a big deal. Like, my $250,000 investment wasn't going to, marble statues weren't going to be tumbling all over the concrete deck. See, people don't want to follow somebody who's unsure. What you want is you want to feel that level of certainty. And they won't perceive true certainty as pushiness. They don't perceive it as pushiness. They want to follow somebody who knows, they know they have the answer. And they know if they don't have the answer, they're going to figure it out. And they want somebody who's ready to serve them, who's willing to serve them. I think this like a great modern example is anybody who's followed the NFL is Tom Brady. Like Tom Brady wasn't the greatest known athlete. He was 199 in the draft. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the fastest. But when he walked on the team, he told the owner and the coach that they had made the best decision the organization had ever made. And he believed it in himself. And he prepared for it. And he planned for it. And then he played like it. And then he became it. And when it was his time to lead, he didn't hesitate. He walked on like a champion and performed like a champion. And that's exactly what Napoleon Hill meant when he described Barnes showing up looking like a tramp, but thinking like a king. So let's go back to Hill's formula. Now this is on page 55 here. This is on the chapter on faith. Let me see here. Let me see. Transmute into physical. He says the subconscious mind will transmute into its physical equivalent by the most direct and practical media available in any order which is given to it in a state of belief. So think about this. The subconscious mind will transmute anything into its physical equivalent by the most direct and practical available way in any order which is given to it in the state of mind of belief or faith. And that order will be carried out. In other words, that when you tell your subconscious mind to create something, it begins at once to find a way to create that in your life. It takes it as a directive. In psychocybernetics, Dr. Maxwell Maltz talks about the subconscious mind as being a servo mechanism, meaning that any direction you give to the subconscious mind, it automatically believes and automatically begins to transmute. Your subconscious mind is deductive. It has no ability to reject an idea. It just accepts whatever idea it's programmed with. It doesn't reason. This is why, I got to be careful because I've got two young boys. I've got an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, and admittedly, we kind of keep them in our own little bubble, and they still believe in Santa Claus. Now, it's amazing to me because these are two really smart kids, right? I mean, they're in like year 3 or 4 of Mandarin Chinese. They talk to each other in Chinese. They're like 2 years ahead in school. They're super smart. But yet, because since the earliest of times, we've programmed into their little minds this idea about Santa Claus, they've never rejected the idea. They don't even question it. So here's like these two really smart kids not even questioning that there's flying reindeer. But eventually, their reasoning mind will fully develop, and then they'll challenge those ideas. And the minute they do, the belief is gone. That's the power of the subconscious mind. So ask yourself, are you magnetizing people when you meet people with your self-belief, with your level of self-certainty? Do you magnetize the energy of the room that you are the authority, that you are the expert, that you have the right to be there? Is that the dominant energy that you're projecting? Or do you project doubt and hesitation? Are you transmitting confidence or hesitation? Are you owning with authority? Or are you kind of dimming the light because you don't want to brag too much about yourself? You don't want to shine because you don't want to talk too much. So let me tell you something. People don't follow humility. They don't follow humility. They follow vision. They follow absolute certainty. They follow that energy. In the Martinelli sales method and training, we talk a lot about rapport. But we don't say rapport is friendliness. It's not, rapport is not like it's not, know, like, and trust. Rapport is about a strategic, dynamic relationship. See, in every human interaction, whenever you meet somebody, there's an unspoken transference that happens. One person automatically allows the other person to lead. And so one person steps into what we call the originator role. That's the authority. They're going to lead the conversation. And the other person steps into the role of subject. Now, we have all been programmed since a very early age, this dynamic and how we are supposed to behave in it. As an example, when you go to a doctor, we've all been trained that anybody in a lab coat or a stethoscope and a couple initials after their name, that, MD stands for, minor deity, right? We treat doctors like gods, right? And that, when we go to the doctor, we listen to what the doctor says. We do the same. We've been trained with, if you go to a karate school, whoever the black belt is, right? They're the authority. They're the expert. If you go to a dance studio or a yoga studio, we've been trained. The teacher, whoever that person is, they're the authority. We're the subject. But when you go into a sales call and you're meeting with the CEO, you're meeting with the director of HR, who's the authority? Who leads that dynamic? And what we teach in our method is you've got 4 seconds where you have to step in and you have to claim that role. You have to be the authority. Your job is to lead the dynamic, not through domination, not through power, but through the emotional appeal of certainty, that the prospect sees you. And like Edison saw Barnes, that there's something about you. You carry yourself. That in the first 4 seconds, they say, this guy's sharp as a tack. This lady's sharp as a tack. They're enthusiastic about hell. They're enthusiastic as hell about what they're talking about. They're passionate about what they're talking about. They believe in what they're talking about. They carry themselves with this level of authority. And you know that in the first 4 seconds when somebody meets you. When you meet somebody, you know it. It doesn't take you long to form an opinion. And I'm not talking that I'm not saying that stays forever, because all that gives you is the next 4 seconds, or maybe the next 10 seconds. And you can lose it. You can break that level of rapport. How? Say something dumb. Talk off topic. Go off to Pluto when you're talking about it. Ask a question that you should have known the answer to, like, how long have you been in business? What does that have to do with what we're talking about? And why don't you know how long I've been in business? You're coming here to get my business, and you're asking one of the most basic questions that you could have found out if you went to my website. You didn't even care to go to my website. You don't know how long I've been in business. Like, one of the first things I do when I interview people who come to work for me is I ask them, what have you done in preparation of today's interview? Like, have you gone to my website? Like, what's our current offer? What are we selling right now? I mean, you're coming to work for the company. You're taking an hour of my time for me to interview you, and you haven't even been to my website. You don't know what we teach. You don't know how many subscribers we have. You don't know anything about the company. You're coming here for an interview and you know nothing about the company. That doesn't build certainty in me for you. See, the buyer doesn't want to have to carry the weight. The buyer doesn't want to educate you. That's your job. So if you collapse into kind of people pleasing, or you collapse into indecision, do you think that inspires certainty? They won't feel safe. When you casually said, I'll get back to you next week. I'm sorry, you're going to get back to me next week? Good luck. My schedule's packed. We book my schedule 90 days in advance. What do you mean we're going to just wing a meeting? No, we're not. You don't take it seriously enough for us to, break out our appointment books now and firm up a time? They won't feel certain. They want you to take the lead. And then the sales falls apart even before you even begins. So sales isn't just like any other skill. It's also a posture. Like when you walk into the room, your presence, your energy goes first. When you open up a call, your energy speaks louder than your opening line. And if your energy is I'm unsure or I'm nervous or I hope this works, they feel that and they mirror that back to you. But if your energy says, look, this is the next step, I'm here to guide you. I know exactly what you need. I know exactly how we're going to get there. You're safe with me. This is the easiest, simplest, safest decision you can make to get your wants and needs met is doing business with me and my team. Now that's leadership. And ultimately, that's sales mastery. So the challenge is to kind of stop selling like you're a guest in somebody's house. Oh, thank you so much for taking the time. Like they're so important. You're not there to beg. You're there to guide. You're the authority. You're the authority. Like when you go to see your dentist or your doctor, they say, oh, geez, thank you so much for, coming in for your appointment and seeing us today and being on. They don't say that. You're there to lead. And the moment you decide to stop trying to be liked and start transmitting clarity and certainty and decisiveness and purpose, that's when sales gets fun. And the truth is that your prospect is craving that, especially for those of you that are selling like coaching services. Somebody wants to hire a coach who has more confidence than they do. They want to hire a coach who has more certainty than they do. They want to hire a coach who really believes in their ability to solve it. So here's the foundation we laid today. Number one is you can't sell someone if you have any resentment towards money, towards yourself, towards your value. If you don't believe you're worthy of wealth, or if you think, that, you're not worthy of being able to serve other people, you're going to sabotage your sales without even realizing it. And Think and Grow Rich teaches us that belief is the fuel for your action. Number two is you can't wing sales. You can't fake it till you make it. You can't rush it. It's a skill and it requires learning and it requires highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. Success doesn't go to the lucky. It goes to those who train. And number three, you have to stay in a position of authority. People just won't listen to what you say. They feel your energy. So if you radiate belief, if you radiate certainty, if you radiate clarity, you lead the sale. But if you project hesitation, if you use hedging language like I think, or I think about it, or maybe, you lose trust before any objection is even given. So these principles are foundation. They're the foundation of what I call magnetic selling. They all point to one core truth, that your inner world creates your outer results. That the journey you have to make in sales is the 18 inches from your head to your heart. You got to get out of your head and into your heart. Your sanctum sanctorum. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So let me leave you with this. These are just 3 principles from Think and Grow Rich that we've kind of reframed into what we'll call sales principles. But I want to be clear that information doesn't create transformation. It doesn't. You can gather all the information. This is great stuff, good entertainment. But until you apply it, it's implementation that allows you to get the feedback and then the repetition and the support. That's what's going to move the needle. And so you have a little bit of an insight today into like the internal side of sales. You've seen how belief and preparation, the posture, like I want your business, but I don't need your business. I'd love to do business with you, but I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to lower my price. I'm going to stay in the position. I'm an expert. I'm an authority figure. Can shape every decision and every outcome that you're getting. But if you want to stop guessing, if you want to take the guesswork out, if you want to start closing at a higher level, and I mean consistently, You're going to need a process. You're going to need mentorship. You're going to need a community. And you're going to need to decide that good enough is no longer good enough. So you are probably closer to being able to go to your next level than you think. But you've got to take the next step. And that's what I want to invite you to do. We have a link right now in the chat. And all we're asking you to do today, we're not asking you to buy anything. Not asking you to buy anything. We're asking you to schedule a call and just hear what we offer. That's it. Schedule a call and talk with someone on our team and share with where you are, kind of where you feel like you might be stuck, and listen to what we have to offer. If it's a match, if it feels like if you believe that we can help you and that we want to help you, then they're gonna provide you with the solution, and they're going to offer you the opportunity to join into our sales mastery program. And if you do that during the rest of this month, the month of July, there's some special bonuses that we've put together, and they'll tell you about those. It costs you absolutely nothing. If the conversation goes for more than 7 minutes, it's because you want it to. Like, we truly believe what we teach. Like, you'll know in the first 5 minutes if we're a fit. You're going to know in the first 5 minutes if we have something of value that can help you. So go right now. If you are not currently in a sales training program, if you are not currently actively engaged in getting better at selling yourself and your services, then you need to be. You are either moving forward or backwards. There's no such thing as inertia, especially when it comes to growth. And our program is priced so affordably that you can't afford not to do it. That in most cases, if you were to increase your sales by 1 or 2 sales of whatever it is you're selling, it will more than pay for your enrollment into the entire program. And as I said, there's a special bonus going on right now in the month of July where we're offering some special bonuses and some special pricing. Okay, so the link is in there. Now what we'll do is, as I promised before, is we will jump into some Q&A. So let me go ahead and switch over because we had this set up a different way. Okay. Dano, can you hear me okay? I'm coming through? Good deal. All right. So if you've got a question about anything that I shared, if you've got a sales challenge that you're in right now, if you've got, hey, you might have a little bit of a sales pitch that you want to run by me. You might have a piece of your script that you'd like us to listen to and give you some feedback on. I'm going to be glad to do it. Again, there is a link that you can schedule a call. And when you do that, we're also going to send you the sales energy assessment that'll help you kind of determine what your energy is when you're on a sales call. Let me work on this. Click here. I'm going to go to that. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go to the first caller. Go ahead, Megan.
We're
Okay.
going to go to Fatima. So Fatima, go ahead and unmute, please.
Hey, good morning, Paul. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Paul. You know, I'm part of every single program you have out there, but my main aha thing that I will definitely be applying next week. I mean, that I kind of know, but writing it down, hearing it from you this morning was my aha moment. If you are the expert, claim it. So thank you for that. My question is this one. I am getting ready to reach out to prospects, and really what I found worked, based on all our conversations, the sales training I went through, is to ask them for their advice. So how would you go by asking advice for leadership and development leaders within organizations, and kind of opening up that discussion? What type of advice? What do you tell them exactly that positions you as an expert, but at the same time opens that conversation to lead to explaining why what you do is different from what they're used to?
Yeah, got it. So what we're doing in our program is we're teaching you how that when you're going to, let me go to gallery, when you're going to set up, this is a strategy for when you're trying to get somebody on a call, right? So you're cold calling somebody, and rather than saying, "Hi, my name is Paul Martinelli, and I want to talk to you about my sales program," you're calling them and saying, "Hey, my name is Paul Martinelli. You and I are connected on LinkedIn, so I'm going to find some connection point. You and I are connected on LinkedIn. You and I are connected on Facebook. You and I met at a conference, a year ago. I'm working on a project that I'd like to get your advice on." The reason why we want to use the word advice is, again, everything we teach in our program is science-based. It's all based on behavioral science. And behavioral science tells us that if I ask you for your feedback or your opinion, you become a critic. You listen with a critical mind, with a critical ear. You're going to find what's wrong with what I'm sharing with you. If I ask you for advice, you listen to it from the perspective of being collaborative. Advice, you're part of my team now. It doesn't sound like it would make a big difference. It makes a huge difference statistically. Behavioral science backs this up. So what we're going to do is what Fatima is doing is, Fatima is a research scientist, and she's reaching out to drug companies. And what she's trying to do is get them to sponsor a program for pharmacists. She's one of the top pharmacists in the country. And so there's an association of pharmacists, and she's trying to get her leadership program sponsored by the association. And she's going to the pharmaceutical companies to sponsor it. And she's having a hard time getting them on the phone. So now she's calling into those directors of development of the pharmaceutical companies and asking them not to give her money. She's saying, "Hey, look, my name is, I represent this association. You've been to some of our conferences, or your group attended our conference last year. We've put something together. I've put something together, and I'd like to get your advice on it." That's going to convert much better than if she were to call them up and say, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about sponsorship opportunities." When she gets them on the call, now she's saying, "Now, how do I ask for advice? I'm supposed to be the expert. How do I ask for advice?" Well, you position yourself as the expert by saying, "Look, I'm the director of leadership development for the largest association of independent pharmacists in the country." Okay, that's an authority figure. And what I'm doing is I'm reaching out to selective companies and giving them an opportunity to sponsor the leadership development program within the organization. And what I'd like to do is get your advice on what you think about these packages. Would these packages be the type of packages, as a pharmacist, as a pharmaceutical company, you would feel would add enough value to give sponsorship money to? And while she describes the bronze, silver, and gold investment packages, if she does it the right way, that pharmaceutical director of development person is listening to them and thinking, maybe we should sponsor this. And at the end of her explaining it and asking them their advice, like, now that you've heard what we're planning on offering pharmaceutical companies and people in your position, I'd like to get your advice. How can we make this better? What would you want more of? And now she's entering this into this dialogue, this collaborative way of asking them for the business in a very elegant way. Because remember, she has no relationship with these people. None. They don't know her from anybody. So she has to first get them on the phone. So commitment objective number one is getting them to take the call. So how do we get them to take the call? We've got to entice them. When I ask you for advice, and I'm going to ask you to be advice, there's a little bit of an ego stroke there, right? There's a psychological, like, look, I'm validating that your opinion matters. People like that. Hopefully enough to get them on the call. That's objective number one, get them to accept the call, get them on the call. Objective number two is to be able, what's the commitment objective? Remember, in our process, in our system, we don't believe it's ABC, always be closing. What's the commitment objective? Commitment number one, the commitment objective number one is to get them to take your call. You can't always be closing until they take the call. Then commitment objective number two is to establish yourself as an authority. I'm the director of leadership development for the largest network of independent pharmacists in the country. We have an organization of over 1,000 independently owned pharmacists that distribute over $75 million worth of pharmaceutical drugs, including your companies. Okay. You've got my attention. If I'm the director of development for the pharmaceutical company, you've positioned yourself as an authority. Now engage me. And so what we've done with Fatima is we've given her each of these specific commitment objectives and the language pattern, highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge all the way through. Thanks, Fatima. Okay, go ahead, Megan.
All right, we're going to go to Yvette. Yvette, I just asked you to unmute, please.
Hey, Yvette, how are you?
Oh, how are you? Good here. I'm reading the book right now, by the way. So I comment that it couldn't be a better day today to go over all the golden nuggets from that book that I'm reading, which it resonates with me. I already have my burning desire. I already understand everything that you said. I'm working on it, but I am my worst enemy saying that. This is what is stopping me sometimes. That I don't put the full gas on the car. It's a new business. I have 15 testimonials. Testimonials are free, but they are valid. They have gotten results. 2,000 in sales, because I did my first sale at 2K, which is a great thing. The question is, I do have expertise in this new business. How can I establish authority on a new business? That is my
Yvette. What do you mean you don't have experience in what you're doing? What are you doing?
So I did say I do have experience, and yet I'm my worst enemy because I haven't established authority.
You said you don't have experience. You don't have expertise. You have expertise.
So when I self-doubt, that's what I'm saying, basically.
And what I'm saying is you're saying you have self-doubt because you're telling yourself you don't have expertise. Either you do.
I got it.
What is it that you sell? What are you selling?
So I'm selling the new way. Coming from the old school, I knew how to knock at the door and sell you. I was great at that. This is a new car.
Yvette. What are you selling?
I'm selling marketing, branding for online businesses where you want to start your business, and I coach you on branding and marketing.
Have you ever done this before?
Yes.
Have you done it successfully?
Yes.
Are you good at it?
Yes. That's what I'm the worst enemy, because I feel this is a new car I'm riding. This is the online business, selling through Zoom. It's not anymore knocking at the door and talking to you. So that is my misbelief. I do have the expertise. I just have to raise the bar on the confidence.
Exactly right. You've got it, and good for you. Good for you for recognizing it and saying, hold on, Like what you've done is you've made an agreement with this limiting story. It's the same thing I did, is that I'm a high school dropout and, nobody's ever going to, hire me. I'm never going to amount to anything. You've got to interrupt that story. See, the fact is that you've never done this as a business. That may be a fact. The fact is you may have never done an online business. That may be a fact. The fact may be that you're going to have to get better at being able to sell on Zoom. All of those are facts. But the facts are like the weather. It changes. Facts change. And not only do facts change, you can change them. But the truth is like the center of town. It never changes. It's the center. And the truth is that you know and you understand this level of branding and marketing. You've done it for other people. You've got people who've given their word that you've been able to help them. That's the most valuable asset there is. The most valuable thing I can give you is my word. And you've got 15 people who have given their word and giving you authority to spread that word. And then what you're doing is you're discrediting them. When you go in and play small, and when you go in and marginalize yourself, and when you go in and you diminish yourself with your own story of self-doubt, the person that you're selling looks at the people who have referred you and has to question their sanity. How could these people have said that this woman's great? She's fumbling the ball all over the place. You're doing them a disservice. And they've given you the most precious resource they have. A, their time to write it, and B, their word. You need to be a good steward of that. You can't afford the luxury of having this kind of a story. You can't afford the luxury of playing this game with yourself. You've got to interrupt this pattern. And so my recommendation is that you go and you click the link and you stop saying you understand, because you don't. You don't understand something until you can effectively create change in your life that is measured, and you haven't done that yet. Click on the link, schedule a call with our team, get in the program, and get better. That's it. That's it. I'll see you on our next call. Benjamin, thanks for being here, Yvette.
Hey, Paul. Thank you so much. As always, great energy, and you really are a model for these teachings that you're sharing with us. I'm reflecting on the principles that you've shared, and I feel like for me, principle number one is where I need to put a lot of my focus. And here's my question. Coming to where I am today in my business, I've had someone else responsible for filling my calendar with clients. And so I've had my head down in execution mode, being the expert and helping people get the results. So principle 2 and 3, I feel that there is a lot there that I could still just develop, but I'm kind of standing on stable ground. Going out now to fill my calendar with clients where I'm the one making those 2 calls, I have 2 issues that I want you to help me with. One, I'm cautious that I could get swallowed into the sales process and not have time to continue to deliver on the clients who are also on my calendar. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the concern that as I go out to meet corporates, the experience that I've had is being tied up into the bureaucracy and proposals and kickbacks, and you being a cog in the wheel where they already know they want to give Martinelli the job for whatever kind of reason, kickbacks or whatever. So that for me is weighing on me. Do I want to go down that road knowing that that's where it's going to be? And so my question is, how do I establish my authority in that initial conversation to say, hey, do you want to do this? I'm the guy you want to do this with. This is how far I'm going to go without necessarily being arrogant. I'm curious how to balance both of those. But at the same time, while also then targeting individuals who would be looking to buy my, coaching programs or digital programs, all the results that I've kind of seen from the past, and that's what I'm leaning on, is this continuing conversation of the disposable income to buy those resources. And those are the two things that are kind of catching me up. On the corporate, there's this issue of bureaucracy and kickbacks. With individuals, there's challenge of money, but also on my part, wondering, whoa, okay, I already have so much on my calendar. If I start going out cold calling and yes, using some of these principles, that's going to take significant amount of my time. And considering those two challenges, I would love to hear your thoughts and insights on how to just navigate that in the principles you're sharing.
Well, I think I can speak for a lot of people on this call. People would love to have the problem of having too many too many prospects to talk to, that it would take up too much of your time, right? I think you're going to find that you're going to be much more selective. You're going to qualify those buyers in the questions that you ask. You know, one of the questions, again, we're gonna follow our model, right? And so our model is, we're looking at a commitment objective, and the commitment objective in intelligence gathering is not only you identifying with the problem, but making the client feel the pain of their problem. So in my intelligence gathering, I'm not doing intelligence gathering to learn about their company and to learn about the that's it. What I'm asking them is, like, what's the problem you have? And what's the consequence of that problem not being resolved? And what would hold you back from resolving that problem now? Do you have a process that actually delays you finding a solution to that? Because if you do, there's no amount of, training that me or anybody else can help you with. Are you ready to, what's the process for making this decision? Remember, I'm coming in with the posture of authority and as an expert. And what I might need to do is I might need to give you coaching right now on how you need to make this decision to bring me in to train your people. Because if I'm incapable of coaching you through a decision to get your wants and your needs met, or to solve a problem that you've just defined for me, and I can't coach you through to take action, then you shouldn't hire me. And so I think you have an opportunity when you're in that intelligence gathering phase. Notice that we don't call it discovery, we call it intelligence gathering. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look, permission to go into coach you right now, because I think that how somebody and how an organization does one thing is how they do everything. And it looks to me like you guys got a structure and developed a habit of slow playing decisions that you need to make. And so let's get you started. The other thing I think you want to look at is in your offering is, do you have something that's easy to say yes to? Like here in the United States, and I know you're in Kenya, so it might be different, but here in the United States, we all know that in most corporations and organizations, the magical number is $5,000. Anything over $5,000, usually they have to go and it's got to be submitted and there's proposals. So can I get you started with a first-time decision that's less than $5,000? Can I say to you, look, why don't we do this? Why don't we make a quick, easy first step? Like, why don't you let me work with your top 10 people for 6 weeks? And let me do kind of a group coaching. We'll do it, I don't know, we'll do it for $4,500. And let's get a result. And then from that result, let's then talk about a more formal way to work together, right? So I think you've got to be willing to push a little bit further and not accept the status quo that this is going to be slow played and dragged out and that kind of a thing, right? And having the posture that I'd love to have your business, I don't need to have your business. And that, what we teach, again, in our system is that not every sales interaction leads to the close today. It might not lead to a close today. It might lead to us saying, hey, look, you're not ready now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some information, and we're going to agree to come back in 90 days, or we're going to agree to come back in 6 months. And you're going to develop that relationship during that time. So you want to be willing to, in that conversation, say, look, I don't think you're the client for me. I'm not looking for clients who knowingly have problems that they're unwilling to do what it takes to solve it. You've just described to me that you've got this 6-month process to make a decision. The consequence of you not making a decision now and this continue to perpetuate for the next 6 months is that, you guys are going to lose more and more of your business. You're going to lose more, more market share. That's not an acceptable outcome. And quite frankly, for me as a coach, people judge how good I am by the success of my clients. And if you're not willing to be more successful, if you're not willing to do what it takes, I don't know that we're a good fit. Whoa, right? See, we teach in our system is that you can say anything to a client as long as it's said respectfully. So don't be afraid to push back. Remember, like, sales isn't always a happy, fun conversation. Sometimes we're gonna confront the problem. Sometimes we're gonna confront what makes somebody uncomfortable. I might have to get you uncomfortable, and probably will. I've got to get you to feel the pain, like I had to do with a vet. I got to get you to feel the pain to say, wow, hold it. I really do need to get better. I don't want to stay here. Great. So I know you say you understand, but you don't understand because you don't have the results. So you've gathered knowledge, but you don't have praxis. You don't have the integration of knowledge and behavior. So there's something holding you back. You got to get into a program and let us spend some time with you and let us help you unlock your potential. I can't help you any other way. Now that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for her to hear. It's uncomfortable for me to push back. But if I say it in a way that not only conveys absolute certainty that I can help you, but also conveys like, I want to help you. That shows that is said also within a state of empathy. I think also, Benjamin, the mistake you're making is a mistake that so many people make. And that is you are projecting into what the client's going to say. Right, for everybody, write this down. Don't say no for them. Write it down. Don't say no for them. Like, let them say no themselves, but don't you go in and it's kind of like, have you ever been to Rick Raperto and I? Like Rick Raperto and I can't get together for 3 seconds. We are just bad news together. We go to dinner and we're at dinner. We got our wives. I've got Holly and he's with Kim. And the waitress comes up. This is after dinner. And we've critiqued her whole pitch. And she comes up and she says this to Rick and I. She says to Rick and I. She says this. She says, "You guys wouldn't want any dessert, would you?" It was all I could do to calm Rick down. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I need like a tranquilizer shot to put right in Rick's neck, right? Because he's gonna get up and give this woman a seminar right on the spot." She's like, "You're not hungry. You didn't leave any room for dessert, do you?" Like, she's saying no for us. Like, she could have walked up and said, "I don't care how full you are, you've got to take a bite of this." I forget what it was. It was like bread pudding. It was some like caramel bread pudding that we ended up buying. I mean, we bought it. She didn't sell it. We had to buy it. But we're salespeople, and salespeople are buyers, right? We're the easiest marks in the world. I mean, you can hint to me and I buy it. But that's what she should have said. Look, I know you got a big bag of takeaway, but every single one of you've got to take a bite of this bread pudding. It's the best you've ever had. She could have sold us all of them. Because, like, for some of you, if you've been to dinner with me, I've ordered the menu before. I've ordered the menu before. Like it's not uncommon for me to go to a restaurant and just say, you want an appetizer? Yeah, all of them. Just bring them all. Because I don't believe we go to restaurants to eat. I believe we go to restaurants to taste. So there's six. There's six desserts. There's four of us. We want all six. We want all six. We don't want just bring all six. We don't live in an either or a world. I'm not going to wrestle Rick Raperto over who gets the piece of the lemon meringue pie. I'm going to lose that. He's a big dude. Just bring all six. So don't say no for them, Benjamin. You're already saying no in you've already got their whole answer about why they're not going to do business with you programmed in your mind. So I want you to erase that possibility. I want you to erase that possibility. And I want you to come in with a compelling offer. I want you to have real clarity about the problem you solve. And I want you to have a real understanding of what is the normal consequence of people who don't implement the solution. What's the real consequence? Okay, Benjamin. I hope I helped you. Next up, Maggie.
We're going to Robin. Robin, go ahead and unmute, please.
We're going to Robin. Hey, Robin, how are you?
Hey, Paul. Is it all right if I do a quick testimonial for anybody on the call that's questioning?
Sure.
I do have two questions. I was going to say your program is so amazing that before doing the Paul Martinelli sales method, I have never had consistency in my sales. For the last 4 months, I've had consistency in sales every month. It's been $175. I averaged it out over the last 3 months, April through June, $175. I've never had that in business. I have the belief in myself. And then this month, so far, I'm up to $1,600. I've never done that. And I am so incredibly thankful for Turning Point. I'm just saying, Turning Point, after that, I have done more in my business than I've ever done in my entire 7 years of having it. And it's so amazing. I am so incredibly thankful that Dr. Rick and John Nimmo was on the call with me. And they followed up, they've done the things, because if they hadn't, I would never have the success that I have now. And I know $175 is not a lot to other people, but to me, that's all I needed was that little bit of belief in me. So if anybody's on the call and they're questioning if this is for you, I'm going to tell you right now, I got absolute certainty, even with my tears, that I know for a fact this program, the only regret you will ever have is not doing it sooner. So that's
Thank you.
what I have to say for you for that, because it has been life-changing for me. I'm trying to get my husband to let me name our son Paul. I'm just saying. I'm working on it.
Right on.
We got him in 8 weeks, and I'm like, can we do that? Working on that one. But anyway, I was also gonna ask a couple questions.
Okay, let's shoot.
Is it okay to say I don't know in a sales call when somebody asks me if I know, say for example, somebody asks me, how many weeks is this going to take? And I truly don't know. Is it okay that I have said I don't know, but I know based on I've helped other clients with XYZ, like anxiety, for example, I know that that's 5 weeks.
Yep.
So is it okay to say I don't know to that client?
Okay, and what's your second question?
Which book would you recommend that I study and apply every single day? Think and Grow Rich or The Science of Getting Rich?
Okay, very good. I think what I would do is thanks, Robin. And I think, since you're part of the sales program, I think what I would do is I would commit to the curriculum in the sales program and go back and just go right back to syllabus number 1, the messenger, and go through that. If you're going to dedicate time, study time, listen to one voice, right? So get back into that, because you're going to get TAGR and Science of Getting Rich and psychocybernetics, and you're going to get influence and behavior science. So you're going to get all of that in my program. I don't know how not to teach that. So that's all embedded in there. Now, here's the question. and I want all of you to catch this because this is really critical when you're selling. When a client says, what does it cost? Like, how much does it cost? Or how long does it take? I want you to know that is a buying question. Okay. That is a sign of them saying, I'm ready to buy. I'm ready to buy. So the last thing we want to do when somebody is ready to buy and they're right there and they're just so close, the last thing we want to do is go, boom. No, boom. Like you're at the park and you're throwing a little bread to the squirrels and they're coming up and they're close. Just as they get close, you don't want to go boom and spook them. So the last thing we want to do is we don't want to feed them uncertainty and say, well, I don't know. Here's the answer, okay? Whenever somebody asks you, what's this going to cost? Or how long is it going to take? You're going to ask them this. What does that really matter? Does that really matter? And then you're going to interrupt yourself, okay? So somebody says, well, so Robin does hypnotherapy. Well, how long does it take for me to like break through, smoking? She's going to say, let me just ask you this. What does that really matter? Like, if I told you it was 6 weeks, are you not going to quit smoking? If I told you it was 8 weeks, what does that matter if you really want this? See, Jim, see, Mary, you told me that right now you went to a doctor and you've got 3 clogged arteries. You went to the doctor and you're winded when you walk up your steps. You told me that you are sick and tired of your little children turning their head when you go to kiss them because they say you smell like an ashtray. Who cares how long it takes? See, Mary, if you're willing to negotiate what you're willing to do, you're going to settle for less. So how about we do this? How about we get started today? Let's get you started today. And let's not worry about how long it takes. Let's worry about you being committed every single day until it does. Fair enough? You ready to get started? See, that's the answer, right? I mean, because really, who cares how long it takes? It's like when I would walk up to the people at Rosetta Stone and ask them, like, how long does it take to learn Italian? Who cares? Either you want to learn Italian or you don't. Are you not gonna are you gonna stop wanting to learn Italian because it takes you 7 months and not 5? Do you really want this? And if you really want this, you're either willing to do it or you're not. This is non-negotiable. So if I tell you it's 5,000 or 3,000, are you not going to do it? Are you going to give up what you want? I understand that time and money is part of the calculus. I understand that, but let me ask you this. Is your desire conditional? See, remember, your job is to be the authority. You're not there to just make them feel good. You're not there to be their friend. You're the authority. I have a good friend who's a doctor. And this was years ago, and I walked in and, the nurse brings me back. She does the whole thing, height, weight. I'm sitting there, in my underwear and the little paper cloth thing. Doctor comes in and he gives me a loving smack in my mouth. Like, hey, what are you doing? He says, what are you doing? What? It's like, you're 42 pounds overweight. You're clinically obese. What are you doing? What are you doing? You got to get this in. What are you doing? You can't go into your 50s like this. You're going to die. He's an authority. That registered. I lost 70 pounds. See, as you've got to hold your position. You've got to hold your position. You're the authority. You're the expert. Now, you can't break rapport. See, this guy, this doctor, had enough of a relationship with me that he could do that with me. We're kissing friends. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Kissing friends and relatives, or we're kissing friends. Many of you guys know him, Dr. Harry, the Greek plastic surgeon, good friend, but he's also my DO. So, Robin, when somebody asks you this, your job is to hold authority. Say, look, there's a bigger question than time and money. What do you want? There's no amount of hypnosis, and there's no amount of time, and there's no amount of money that's gonna help you solve your problem if you're already looking for the exit. If you're already looking for the easy button. Okay. Next up, Maggie.
All right, we're going to James.
Hey, James, how are you, buddy?
Oh, go ahead and unmute.
Great, man. Thank you. So,
Right on.
I have a great business mentor coach named Paul Martinelli who suggested
Right on.
that
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. I highly recommend him. I'm coming out with an advanced cybersecurity assessment for small to medium businesses. So his advice was to go knocking door to door. So I'm trying to put together the message that I want to start doing this when I go door to door, as well as a leave behind. So I've created a document. It's rough. It's not pretty yet, that I was hoping to get reviewed. Is there any way I can share it? Or if I type it into the chat, it's going to kind of lose some formatting.
Just say it now. How long is it? I mean, it can't be but a minute. Say it. Let's hear it. So here's what I want all of you guys. Here's what I want all of you guys to do. I want all of you guys now to put on your hat as kind of a business owner, manager, and James walks in and he's selling his cybersecurity assessment. He's selling his cybersecurity services. He's walking in as a guest, and his hope is that he doesn't leave as a pest. Okay. He wants to stay guest and not move to pest. And he wants to establish authority. So go ahead. What are you going to say, James? And don't worry about the camera. Just go ahead.
My name's Jim Stokes. I'm here, we're here to help small to medium businesses provide enterprise level protection of cybersecurity, keep the dream alive. With the advent of AI, they're attacking small businesses now. So what we're offering right now is a non-invasive initial cybersecurity scan. It's free. It's abbreviated. A lot of times before I even walk in, I'll have it and I can give it to you and show you, what we've determined. And also that allows me, if they have 0, do I still walk in or not? Because if they're successful, I can keep up the success. But, could you survive a ransomware attack? My first question is, are you concerned about cybersecurity at all? Because some small business owners, it just happened, right? I don't know anything about it, So my next question is, could you survive a ransomware attack? Are you prepare for your business to be shut down, to pay the ransom? So,
yep, got it. Let me help you here. And I want all of you guys to track what I'm going to do. So first off, James, let me just ask you this. The person you're seeing is not the person you want this conversation to. This is what you're saying now is not when you walk in the door. Because when you walk in the door, you're meeting with the receptionist, whose job is to simply pass you off. And the reason I say all this is because I want you guys all to be thinking about this. The process is not always be closing. The process is what's the next commitment objective. So when he walks in the door, his commitment objective is to walk out the door at least with the name, email, and phone number of the person who is in charge of technical security. That's the first commitment objective. If he doesn't get that, I don't care how good the offer is. So the first thing is he's going to walk in, he's going to say, hey, my name is James Stokes, and he's going to immediately establish authority. I'm a leading expert in online, security or cybersecurity, like a statement of authority, whatever that is. Next is like, what's the reason for the call? Like, why are you here? Why am I in front of you? So he's going to say, one of the ways I introduce myself to local businesses is through a cybersecurity threat assessment. Okay? Now, remember, what are we trying to do? We're trying to build certainty in this person's mind. So we're cutting right. This is who I am. This is my authority. This is what I'm trying to do. The reason I'm here is I'm introducing myself. The way I do that is we give a complimentary cyber threat assessment. Okay, she's tracking. No red flags. Next. Who would be the very best person with decision authority that I should speak with? That's it. Who would be the very best person that I should speak with who has decision authority in this area? And, within the organization, who would that person be? Two things happen. She either says, get out of here, or there's a no soliciting sign. Or she said, oh, that would be Jim or Mary. Great. Commitment objective done. Next commitment objective. Commitment objective number 2 is now talk to this person. So James is going to take the swing. Would you do me a favor? Would you do me a favor? Would you see if they've got 3 minutes for me right now? Would you do me a favor and just see if they got 3 minutes for me right now? Would you do me a favor and see if they have 3 minutes for me right now? They're either going to say one of two things: get out of here, no, or sure. Now, when you're in front of that person, James, and you and I had our call, I kind of gave you the script. And the script I gave you was, now let's say I've got 5 minutes with Jim. Let's say Mary behind the desk says, sure, you need to talk to Jim. Jim, do you have a couple of minutes? I've got a cybersecurity analyst out front. Okay, send him back. You go right back, third door on the left. Now James goes back. James does the exact same thing. My name is, I'm an authority in, the reason for the call is, boom, right? My name is James Stokes, leading authority in cybersecurity threats. One of the ways I introduce myself to businesses and organizations is we provide a free complimentary threat assessment. Let me ask you this question. Has any one or has any two of these 5 things happened to you or your organization in the last 90 days? I just want to qualify if you're a right fit. I just want to qualify if you're a right fit. Fair enough? What does Jim say? Shoot, let me see. Number 1, have you received a text message that your driver's license is expired, or that you didn't pay tolls, or that you're being requested to give to some political campaign? Have you gotten a text message from somebody that you don't know and you didn't sign up for? That's a great sign to tell me that, first off, your data's been sold. Somebody's got your name, you're on a list. Has that happened to you? Number 2, have you received a piece of mail at home or in the company that was made to look like it came from a government agency and wasn't? It came in an envelope that looked like it came from the IRS, or it came from the envelope that looked like it came from the Department of the Transportation or Department of Justice or some. Did you get one of those kinds of pieces of mail? Yes or no? Number 3, have you said the word or thought, the concept of, what is it called? Ransomware. Has anybody in your organization said the word or thought about the concept of ransomware? In other words, have you had a reason to be concerned about security? Has that come up? So what you're going to do as the expert, James, is you're going to think of like 5 things that are common indicators that somebody has been violated or is at risk of being violated. And you're asking them, has 2 of any of these 5 happened? And if you've done your work the right way, chances are, let me just ask you, how many of you have had one of those things happen? Just raise your hand. Okay. So there you go. Half of the people, at least on the first screen, have. So I've already qualified Jim. And Jim says, I've had all of them, or I've had 4 of them. Say, great, then you're a perfect fit. All I want to do now is I want to give you a complimentary assessment and schedule a 10-minute conversation for you and I to go over your threat assessment. Fair enough. That's it. And then he's going to give them this assessment. He's going to have a time for him to go back, and he's going to sit down with them, and then he's going to take them through the process. But think of the commitment objective. He's not trying to sell his services. The commitment objective here is get him to be aware that he's at risk. Here's 5 questions. Identify 2. Real simple. Commitment objective done. Next question. Now that you know you're at risk, do you want to take an assessment to see how I can help you? Yes or no? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, that's an IQ test. If he says no, run away from Jim. His stupidity may be contagious, right? I mean, who has 3 threats and doesn't want to take, an assessment from an expert who's willing to help him for free? Well, doesn't want to invest 10 minutes? Of course he does. That's what you need to do, James. You're going from commitment objective to commitment objective to commitment. Everything else that you mentioned, again, overcomplicates things. And when we talked, that was one of my concerns, is that, have you ever talked to people who were in the military and they say, well, we were down at the DMX and, we were fired a 437 of, and they're using language that they know that I don't know, I don't understand. And they're talking above my level, and that breaks rapport. That doesn't impress me. It depresses me. I'm not impressed with how great you are. I'm disconnected from you. I don't know what you're talking about. And so you need to really bring it in and keep, this is really simple. People are afraid of technology. People are afraid of threat assessments. They're afraid of being hacked. It's a world that they admittedly, the reason you exist is because they don't know. So the last thing you want to do is scare them into you being complicated too. Look, this is a complicated thing, but let me make it really simple for you. Here's the easiest thing you can do. I'm going to share with you 5 indicators of threat. If you have 2 or more, you and I should talk. Here's the first one. Have you ever received a text message from somebody you didn't know? Maybe they told you that you didn't pay tolls, or your driver's license is going to expire. Has that ever happened? Yeah, I've had that. Okay, well, that's an indication that your ID has been sold. Let me ask you this. Have you ever received mail where it was made to look like a government agency? Yeah, well, that's them phishing. That's them testing you. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a text message from your credit card company saying, hey, look, it looks like there's some suspicion. Has that happened to you? Yeah, okay. Has anybody in your company or either said the word ransomware or hacking or thought about it? Yeah, well, that's good. That's because there's a concern. That energy's around here for a reason. They're not talking about that down at the Dairy Queen, but they're talking about it here. So you might be susceptible. Okay, so based on everything you just said, you're an absolute perfect fit for this assessment. Let's get this assessment done. It's not going to give you a brain hernia. It's going to take you about 10 minutes to do. It's 22 questions, as simple as the ones I just asked you. And after you've done, let's sit down for about 10 minutes. Fair enough? That's the pitch. Don't overcomplicate it. KISS, keep it super simple. Thanks, James. Next up.
Next up is Deborah. Deborah, go ahead and unmute, please.
Hey, Deborah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, Paul. Thank you so much for today.
You're
I have a
welcome.
so I won an award and I will be going to receive the award in Arizona next Saturday. And there's going to be the chance to connect with media professionals, and the goal is to gain media coverage and further promote my book. My question is, how can I maximize such an occasion, the networking sessions? How can I maximize it to promote my book and for more sales and visibility?
Yeah. Well, congratulations on winning the award. I think the first thing I would do is I would let people know that you won the award. You know, that's not bragging. That's acknowledging an accomplishment, and you should do that professionally. And so, you know, I would talk about that, you know, how honored you feel that you were nominated and, you know, voted on to receive this award, and that you're going to be doing it out in Arizona, and that you're grateful for all the people who have supported you, that kind of, you know, not only challenged you to create the work, but also supported the work. So I would start there. I would also send out a press release to all of your local media that you've won the award and that you're going to be receiving the award in Arizona. And I would be specifically going out to the lifestyle department. And so I would call the lifestyle editor of your local newspaper, TV, and news stations, news radio stations. And I would also be calling out to the business editors of those media outlets. As you know, as a woman and a woman of color, you know, receiving this award and advancing yourself is a story that's relevant in today's marketplace. And so, you know, I would share that and, you know, let them know that you are open to do an interview on the topic of this or this or this, the 2 or 3 topics that you would talk about that are related to the book. And I think, you know, a lifestyle editor may say, you know what, we should do a story on like women entrepreneurs. It's been a while. Maybe it's been a year or 2 since we've done one. Let's do one. And let's highlight this lady. So I would absolutely do that. I would make sure that I would get pictures of it and, you know, promote it through your social media. And then I would immediately change all of your tags and add this accomplishment, you know, award-winning blop in your LinkedIn, Facebook, you know, social media, all of those things. Make sure that you add the credential. That's what I would do. And I think I would, you know, I would, in the next run of the book, and I think your book is published through Amazon, so you could change it now. I would put a seal of the rating agency that, you know, maybe it's, you know, Women of the Year Entrepreneur Board, and I would put on the front cover of the book that you are the award-winning author from this organization. I would add that to the front cover of the book and into the bio of the book and your bio. If you have a Wikipedia page, I would update that as well. Okay, congratulations. All right, next up.
All right, next up, we're going to Nancy. Nancy, please go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Nancy, how are you?
Great, thanks. I just
Good.
want to tell you how much I appreciate you and everything that I've learned and the actions I've been able to take in the last 14 years because of the change in mindset that you've helped me create. And I have a question.
Okay.
I have had So I'm launching a corporate coaching program, and I've been working with Jen a little bit, and I've had 3 meetings with one corporation. I did the CEO first because I knew him, and then, as expected, he referred me to the HR guy who's in charge of training. Logical. And then I've had another chat with the HR guy who's like telling me that he and the CEO are getting together. And then now it's been a couple weeks and I haven't heard anything. So I'm wondering what my next step should be.
What was the commitment objective when you last spoke? What was the last agreement?
They both are impressed with the program and see how that would help their organization, and they're going to get together and chat about it. It was pretty generic.
So that left without you making a next committed step. Is that right? Like you ended whatever your last conversation was, them saying, "Hey, this sounds great. We're gonna talk amongst ourselves and talk about how great it is." Is that, or did they say, and
No,
then
it
we'll
was
get
more like how it would fit in their program.
okay? But what was was there agreement, and then we'll reach back to you or check back with us in 2 weeks? Was there anything defined like that?
It wasn't check back with us. I think if I'm remembering correctly, he said he would get back with me.
Okay. And it's been how long, Nancy?
2 weeks.
Okay. Well, first off, you're not outside the realm of possibility. 2 weeks is, we're not 2 months, right? We're 2 weeks. Okay. So before we learn something new, let's learn what we needed to learn, right? And I think right? When they say, let me get back to you, you've got to close the loop, right? You got to close the loop. A doctor doesn't say, well, we kind of looking at your MRI, let us get back to you without giving you a date, without scheduling an appointment, right? And you're a pro and you're an authority and you don't just leave open things in your calendar. That's not what a pro does. That's not what an expert or an authority does. They close the loop. There's a commitment. And so by allowing them to say, yeah, we'll get back to you, and you not nail down a date, you actually break rapport. Now, again, if rapport is know, like, and trust, you would say, I didn't break rapport. But that's not what rapport is. That's what most programs teach is rapport. But now you can see, because let me ask you, Nancy, do they know you, like you, and trust you?
Yes.
Yes. So that hasn't changed.
No.
But rapport has been broken because now they don't respect you. They're not respecting your time, are they? This isn't the nice thing. I'll get back to you, and for 2 weeks they don't talk to you at all. That's disrespectful, isn't it?
Possibly.
Possibly.
So, yeah, well, there's external conditions that I'm going to take my head to. So, okay.
But hold it. Let's say the yogurt of business hit the fan. Out of respect, they don't call you. Out of respect, they don't say, "Hey, Nancy, Nancy's an important, highly respected authority that we want to do business with. Let's not leave her hanging for 2 weeks. Let's let her know that we had a disruption to the supply line or
Okay.
something, right? It's a sign of disrespect. So you've broken rapport. So rapport is established. Rapport is you being the authority, you being the expert, them seeing you that way, you conducting yourself. So that's been broken. So because, and this is important, this is not me trying to kick you. This is not me trying to spank you. This is me telling you how because what you want to do is you want to get back to them. And you think getting back to them is like, how do I get the conversation going again? And I'm saying it's not about getting the conversation again. It's about you reestablishing yourself as an expert. It's about you reestablishing yourself as the authority. Okay? So the answer to your question is going to be not that, like, what do I do to talk to them again? It's like, how do I reestablish rapport again? So let me ask you this. What problem were you solving for them? What was the biggest problem they had?
The biggest piece was imposter syndrome, promoting from within, and learning to be coaches versus managers.
Okay. So I would send them an email, subject line, it doesn't get better.
Okay.
And I would start by saying something like, Jim, with 25 years of corporate leadership training under my belt, there's three things that that I absolutely know. And number one is it's never convenient, and it's never in the budget, and there's always a competing commitment to create change when there's time for change. It's never convenient. We get that. Number two is that the problem you're aware of is but a small representation of the larger problem you're probably not aware of. It's an indication of a bigger problem. It's the tip of the iceberg. 3, unless the leadership team moves with intention and assertiveness, these problems never fix themselves. In our last discussion, I know you and Dave were going to circle back about implementing. And I wanted to give you, a gentle nudge to make sure that this stays on the front burner. I think based on the fact that it's been 2 weeks and we haven't been able to move forward, I think what we need to do is lower our action threshold. And instead of us looking at this 6-month program, or instead of us looking at this year-long program, or whatever the program is that you pitched to them, instead of us trying to do this big thing, let's get a base hit. If what you and I talked about and proposed was the best thing to do, let's find what would be a really good thing to do. Jim Collins said that good is the enemy of great. I've learned that great is often the enemy of good. That when people are waiting to implement the greatest solution, they may never get around to implementing it. And therefore they don't even implement a good thing. So let's lower the action threshold. Let's start with this one thing, this simple, easy thing. Let's do a 30-day blitz with 6 of your people, boom, boom, boom. Easy, yes. I'll take all all you need to do is, give me the thumbs up, give me the names, and I'll take it from here. So you want to be really easy to say yes to here, Nancy. Okay? Megan, can we just unmute Nancy real quick?
Yep, Nancy, go ahead and unmute.
Great, I've got it. And thanks so much. I
Good.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. And get on a call with our team and get in this program. Get on the call with the team.
I've already taken.
Very good. Well, then let's jump back in. Let's jump back in because you're in syllabus. You need to go back into syllabus number 3. I want you to get back into syllabus number 3 and
Okay.
look at the model. Okay, because what we want to do is in our model, once we've presented the offer, once we've made this presentation of the offer, if we're getting an objection and that's what this is, we need to immediately loop back and build rapport, because rapport has been broken, and clearly it has. That's what the system tells us happens. And that's exactly what happens. Rapport is broken. So we need to go back. It's not about advancing the conversation. It's about reestablishing yourself and taking control and saying, okay, from my experience, here's the 3 things. You're in these 3 things. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell us we're not going to do what we originally talked about. You guys aren't ready for that. As the authority, I'm saying this is the next step. Let's do this. Easy, yes, and guide them through. And so this is, if you look at the 11-step system we teach, after we make kind of the 4 corners, which is basically what you've done, you've given the corner and an offer. When you get that objection, we've got to deflect that and we need to loop them back in. I know you see the value. I know you see it as a good idea. And yet you haven't made a decision. Let's lower that action threshold and let's start anew. Okay, Nancy?
I have another question now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the coaching program is a two-parter. Would the next thing be something totally different or half of the 2 parts?
So when you say it's a 2-parter, what does that mean?
So one piece is all about learning how to do coaching conversations.
Okay.
The other piece is all about being the person who is the leader. And, basically it's imposter syndrome relieved. So
how long was the program that you originally pitched? For how long were you going to provide service?
6 months.
And for how many people?
6.
6. So here's what I would do is I would say, look, why don't we do this? Why don't we do a 90-day blitz? Let's just take the top 3. We were looking at these 6 names. Let's take the top 3 performers, because we know if I can move the needle on the top 3, if I can make your top 3 better, we know we can do anything. We know we can move the needle on the rest. Let's take a 90 days. Instead of 6 months, let's cut the time in half. Let's work with 3 and let's get a result just on level 1. And then let's assess where we are in 90 days. So my original proposal was 6 months, 6 people, $25,000. What I'm recommending we do is let's do a 90-day blitz. Let's work with 3 people. Let's focus just on phase 1 of the program, and let's get you started for $6,000. Fair enough? That's what I would do. Okay?
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome. And so notice, everybody, I want you to notice, this, what Nancy has to have, and you see her, she says, yes, no problem. So it's an indication that she has it. And that is dexterity and flexibility. She's not attached to it's got to be 6 months. No, she understands. Okay, hold on. There's ways to break this down. There's ways for me to lower the action threshold. Change the commitment objective. Okay, next up.
All right, we're going to go to Joseph.
Hey, Joseph. And hey, Megan, if you want to drop off, I'll go ahead and finish up. So
No, I'm all good.
go ahead, Joseph.
How's it going, Paul?
I'm doing great. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. So I like what you said about information doesn't bring transformation, conversion does. I really like that. And so, well, what I do right now is called land entitlement. And it like I get a piece of land under contract I develop it to get it like shovel ready and then sell it to a builder.
Awesome.
And really, my true desire, I got into that because my true desire was to build, to be like a residential developer. So I want people like when they see like a residential development that I do, I want them to see like, oh, that's a Leva development. Like when you see a Bugatti or a Lamborghini on the road, you know like that's a Bugatti or a Pagani.
Yeah.
And yeah, and but of course I have to start from somewhere, and so I'm doing that. But to do that, you have to have money. So right now I want to focus on wholesale land.
Okay.
So it's like getting little pieces of land and selling it to builders. And it's like really hard to focus on what exactly on what vision to have, like to have the vision on a residential or to do the land flipping. And well, right, is that it's very, I don't know like where to start really, because right now I have another desire that it's like having a call center in Honduras, like an acquisition call center, and pays based on commission. So have the highest jobs. So I don't know
Great.
what to focus on really, and it's hard because I haven't gotten a deal under contract. And when I see like this huge big dreams, and then I have like
How
it's
old
hard.
are you, Justin? What are you?
21,
How old?
21.
Right on, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So here's what I want to tell you, Joseph. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "A house divided against itself cannot stand."
Yeah,
There's a verse in the Bible that says you can't serve two masters.
true.
In this book, he says what's required is, remember I said an idea, any idea, but it's singular. It's like
Yeah.
one idea. Any idea will work. Anything will work. Anything will work. The question is where are you most passionate? What you see, what you've got, and most of us on this call would trade almost anything for, is time, buddy. You're 21 years old. You've got lots of time. So you can afford to play the long game. You can afford to like pursue your dream and, swing at the ball and miss for a while. For a while. You've got time. So
Okay.
I think what you want to do is you want to think like, what do I really love? Like when you talked about the land, there was a different energy that I felt than when you were talking about some call center in Honduras. And I don't know, like how many of you felt a difference in the energy? I mean, like you talked about like you wanted people to feel like a Lamborghini, like a Ferrari. You didn't say that about the call center. And so I think what you want to do is, find your passion. So one thing I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you to go and intern with a land developer. Here's what I know to be true, and you might not know. Okay? And all I can say, Joseph, is just trust me on this. Old rich people want to help you. Old rich people want to help you. Old successful people want to help you. They love when they see a young person on fire with a dream in a field that they loved, because they want to pass on their legacy. They want to pass on their information. They want to pass on their knowledge. And you're going to find it. Just trust me on this. Because I've been poor and I've been rich. And when I was poor, I didn't know this. And now that I'm rich, I see it all the time. Rich people really do want to help people. They really do want to help you be successful. I'm volunteering, I think it's next week or the week after. I've got a call that it's for our replicate program. So I got a call that ends like at 11:30. I'm jumping in the car, driving an hour and a half down to Boca. And I'm spending like 3 hours just giving it away to teenagers. And it's a group of like kids that are in foster homes. And I'm spending like 3 or 4 hours working with the kids who are like 16 to 23. And I'm helping them in goal setting and goal achievement. I'm doing it for free. I hunted them down because I want to help. And I think now, look, might there be an occasional, jerk or jag off? Of course. But on the whole, you're going to find that most successful people are going to want to help you and want to help you advance. And so what I would do is while you're wanting to do your own deals, I would get in the energy of what it is that you want. And I would say, you know what, I'm going to commit. I'm going to forget everything about, I'm going to forget that Honduras even exists as a country. I'm going to give singular focus to this business, to this opportunity. I'm going to find somebody who's going to allow me to kind of work under their wing as an intern. I'll chase coffee, I'll do whatever, but I just want to be mentored and trade some dollars for hours. Look, at your age, you can live off oodles and noodles. You know what I mean? You can sleep on a couch. Like I slept on the floor. I lived in an apartment with, 4 other guys. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. There was 5 of us. And, we weren't living together because we loved each other. We couldn't afford the rent individually. So, I mean, you're at 21, so if it gets a little tough and ugly, who cares? Okay. You'll forget about it. Your body can take it, but get into it and make sure and start building your connections. Start going to meetings, start going to city council meetings and land planning meetings and zoning meetings, and start meeting inspectors. Start meeting those guys. Start meeting the guys that sell the bulldozers for the land. Start the guys that clear the land. Start working, work a month with a contractor who clears land. Work a month with a surveying company. Just get in it and make sure that you're on fire for it. Give it 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, you're like, wow, I just love this. I want dirt under my fingernails. I got the vision. I want to see it. Then go for it and commit. And all I can tell you is, any limiting belief you have cannot sustain the assault
of positivity.
You going for your positivity, of you going for your dream. Okay?
Yeah. And yeah, so what do you think? Should I start like wholesaling like little pieces of land, obviously, and then like go into or to get an internship?
I think what I would do is I would go and I would get an internship. But we don't live in an either or universe. It's not like you can't do both at the same time. You could be working for a surveyor, you could be working for a land management company, you could be working for a builder and developer, and at the same time, you could still be, looking on the internet and finding land and finding people with money and beginning to find a deal. And you might find your first deal and be able to bring that to the company, to the person that you're working with, to your mentor.
Okay.
I've had many people that I mentor come to me and say, look, I got an idea. Would you invest, or would you help me? Would you turn me on to somebody? And the answer is always yes. I may not always invest, but I will always turn them on and help them find the finances. Getting money is actually pretty easy. It really is. But I can tell you this, nobody is going to invest in land development. Nobody's going to invest in land development, but people are going to invest in you. People are going to invest in you. And they'll invest in you in land management and pest control and roofing and selling light bulbs if you've got the it factor, if you've got the Edwin C. Barnes attitude, if you're on fire for it. Okay? All right, my friend. Thank you, Joseph. Okay.
Okay.
Kimberly. Is that right? Okay.
Yep, Kimberly.
Kimberly, how are you?
Oh, good to see you, Paul.
Good to see you. It's
Good to
been a
see
minute.
everybody. I have one point and one question. First point, when you were talking about but the way one person does one thing or way a company does one thing is the way they do everything. And so I had an introduction from someone from church, and we connected, and then it turned into a exploratory discovery information gathering call. I liked your phrase, but it's not top of mind right now, but exploratory conversation to find out exactly what the people were needing. They were 15 minutes late to the call. And I'm like, okay. So I was sitting there, well, 13 in all honesty, 13 or 14. And I was just about to jump off. And I actually text the person while I was waiting that, are we still doing this today, in the most respectful tone? Yeah. And so they did come on. And then when I inquired about what was going on, I got crickets. When I asked them and I didn't like jump into it, I had thanked the person who introduced me. But the point behind all that, no budget, no issues. However, I did Google them the previous, I think I Googled them that morning. And this is a particular city that's having a lot of challenges, but they would not be transparent in any of it. And I asked them again because I knew. And as I asked them, there were 3 people in the office when we started. 2 of them exited when I asked it the first time. So I was only left with the partial decision maker that had to talk to the mayor. And then I said, is there someone else that we should involve in this conversation? And then asked again about any, blind spots, anything so I could address them. No answer. So no budget, no problems, but I know they have problems. And finally, so I gave a proposal, didn't think I could do it in real time, but I was very glad that I had the resources to do that. So that felt empowering, because what I ended up doing is I withdrew my proposal, which felt really good, because 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done that. I was clenched fist, got to get this. But then I'm thinking, well, how can I possibly help them? They wanted me to go over 8 topics in 8 hours without taking a deep dive on anything.
Yeah.
So that was great. So the way one person does one thing, they do everything. So that was great. And so thank you, because that comes from lots of Paul Martinelli whispering in my ear.
I know.
And the question that I have is, you gave a great script of course you did, regarding what to do on the commitment level. Commitment level number 2. If you were promoting, like I do a lot of coaching and I do training. So in the person that was talking about it has to do with technology, cybersecurity. I'm not an IT person. So when he was talking about that, how would you modify, I played around with some things, but I didn't like the way it reads. How would you modify that second step commitment when you're not just offering, when you're offering a complimentary lunch workshop or a coaching call? How would that look after you've asked them the 5 situations? Have you ever had? And then I came up with a list of 5. And then if so, you're a perfect fit. And then how do I make that next ask?
Yeah. So look, based on everything you just shared, Jim, like you're an absolute perfect fit for, my coaching program, right? And now what I would do is I would loop them into what we call the 4 corners. Okay. And so again, I ask everybody on the call, if you haven't gone through our program, I encourage you to schedule a call and talk with Rick and get in our program. So in our program, we talk about, once you've qualified the person, you're gonna make what we call the declaration of certainty. So you've taken them through, you've done the 5 things, right? It's based on everything. So now I'm going to say, based on everything you've shared, you are absolutely a perfect fit. And here's why. So with absolute certainty, here's why. Number one is I'm gonna corner number one, and I'm not trying to tell you everything. All I'm doing is I'm painting. Think about what we're doing is we're painting a masterpiece. And all I'm doing is I'm painting in the corners. Okay, I'm framing the offer. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm trying to build certainty. I'm going to tell you something about me. You're a perfect fit, and here's why. I've been working with organizations at the highest level for the last 12 years. And I know exactly how to move your people to go from intention to commitment. I've been doing this for a long time. So it's something about you that establishes your value, your authority, and your expertise. It separates you from everybody else. That's the first box. Now, these don't have to be in order. The second box is I'm going to say something about the offering. The coaching program, the coaching style I have, it's a proprietary program, something that we've developed over my last 27 years. And it includes think about what I'm telling you about our program. It includes all the behavioral science from Dr. Robert Cialdini. It includes all the intellectual and education. It includes all the DISC and emotional intelligence trainings and teachings. It includes the very best of all the tactics and strategies and everything you would expect in a sales program, right? So I'm talking about your process, your offering. You're not telling everything about it. You're not saying, well, you're not describing, you're just saying one aspect that differentiates your program, your process from everybody else. Number three, so you're something about you, something about the offering, something about the transformation, something that happens on the other side. And what we have found is that 73% of the people who get into the program, right? So now I'm going to give you the testimonial of the transformation. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the company. And the beauty of all this is, it's backed by 100% money back guarantee. When you join our sales program, if you don't increase your sales within 90 days for twice the investment you've made, we return your money 100%, no questions asked. So all I'm doing is I'm painting I'm not telling you it's a 6-month program. I'm not telling you any of the details. I'm painting the picture. You got that so far? You with me? Yeah. What I'm doing also is as I'm painting these 4 corners, I'm using their favorite color. So if I know that they're an auditory learner, I'm going to ask them, does that ring a bell? What we hear people say is, if I know they're a visual learner, I'm going to use visual. See what I'm saying, right? You're going to have the clarity. You're going to be able to see the change, right? If I know they're a kinetic learner, I'm going to talk about feeling. You with me? If I know that they're a D, I'm going to cut right to the point. If I know they're a C, I'm going to give them statistics and data. If I know they're an I, I'm going to talk about the fun in these 4 corners. And after I paint the 4 corners, I'm going to ask for an order. So I'm going to say, geez, Kimberly, based on everything you shared on our last call, you're a perfect fit for our sales program. And here's why. I personally have trained more coaches than anybody else in the world, living or dead. I've trained over 45,000 coaches. As a matter of fact, I built the largest training company in the world. The second is that our program is science-based. It's based on all the behavioral science of 70 years of discovery with Dr. Robert Cialdini, the writer and the doctor of influence. He's known as the godfather of influence. Most people who come into our program report that they've increased their sales by 50% in the first 90 days, their closing ratio. And lastly, the program's covered by an entire money back guarantee. It's really simple. If you don't double if you don't make double the amount that you've invested in the program within the first 90 days, we refund your money 100%, no questions asked. Now, we get you started in the program today with a $500 deposit, and then there's 2 equal payments of $500 after that. Ready to go? And that's the offer. Now, if I've done everything right, 90% of the people say no. Simply because they're just not, I've intentionally not given them enough information to say yes to it. Now, if they're like me, I'm a buyer. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. Okay. And so don't be surprised if some people just buy. But for most people, they're going to say, well, let me talk to my wife, let me talk to the boss, or right now's not the time, or I'm not the money. They're going to give me some objection, but that objection is going to tell me where they're uncertain. Because all objections are smoke screens for uncertainty. So they're going to tell me that they need validation, that they need somebody else to give them the authority, that they don't have the money, that money is an issue. Now, isn't it interesting? We have conversations with people, everybody's rich, but it comes time to buy, everybody's poor, right? Everybody's got the money to buy, right? Oh yeah, money's not an object. And then it's like, okay, here's the money, but oh, well, we don't have the money in the budget, right? We see that all the time. So now when they tell me, well, you know what, let me think about it, or you know what, right now, we're in the middle of a gap season and okay. So whatever they're going to say, I'm going to listen to their objection and I'm going to gauge where they're uncertain. And what I'm going to do, according to our program, is I'm going to agree with that and move on. I'm going to say, look, Kimberly, I get it. I'm married too. I would never make a decision like this, without my wife Holly's involvement. So I totally get you wanting to, talk to your husband, Greg. As a matter of fact, of course you've got to talk to him. I mean, I haven't given you enough information for you to make a full decision on. Let me just ask you this. Do you like the idea? Like, do you see how the program can really help you? Does it make sense? 99.9%, they're going to say, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to say, exactly. And now I'm going to loop you right back in. And now I'm going to paint the picture. Now I'm going to start building massive emotional certainty and logical certainty. Now I'm going to future pace you. Now I'm going to start giving you data points. Now I'm going to start looping you in. And so that's kind of the process that we're going to guide them through. Let's go ahead and we'll unmute you here real quick. It looks like you got a follow-up question. Go ahead.
Thanks. So just 2 things. So as one's business is growing, I have stats. Obviously they're not your stats, but I can rely on the company's stats. I can do that. And then as relates to the other piece, the 100% money back guarantee, as one's business grows, that would technically speaking mean that that'd be out of cash flow for a while because you would leave it for 90 days in your account so that when you got paid, you don't use it. So that would affect until, well, you have other student clients, of course. What do you do with that as you're growing?
I've never escrowed money because I've got a 90-day money back guarantee.
Or is it going in with it with certainty that it's not even going to be, it's a non-issue?
I over deliver, so it's never an issue. I give money back guarantees on just about, like, I put 45,000 people through the John Maxwell team with a 100% money back guarantee, and I think we had 100 people collect it. And those 100 people showed up. It was right when we first started. It was 2011, March 2011, and those people showed up in tears asking for their money back because they had gotten wiped out because of the financial crisis. And I think like 25% of those people bought 3 years later.
Wow. Okay. Then that helps. Almost went to terror barrier and limiting belief, but thank you for getting me out of there.
Right
I
on.
appreciate you.
Okay, be well. Okay, next up.
All right, we're going to go to Cecily.
Hey, Cecily, how are you?
Great. Thank you for your time.
Right on.
I wanted to just hear your thought process on something I realized that I'm doing in my self-doubt. So I'm so I have a tree business. I have many businesses. I have many lives, but my what I'm looking at the moment this week, though, where I saw what's going on here is that I'm a couple weeks away from doing my certification in arboriculture. So ISA is the kind of top standard for the arborist industry.
Gotcha.
And as you were talking about kind of that self-belief and sabotage and doubt and things like that in my own authority, I realized like, oh, I'm 100% doing it with this, because I fully believe that I will pass the test that I'm going to take in about 2 weeks. I got to lock it in, but I have no doubt that I'm going to pass this. I can do book smart stuff. I can get stuff. I've been working hard. I've been like studying for the last year and a half in the industry. I have no doubt that I can pass that test. The doubt is that I'm like, oh, but then I'll have it so I can meet these things that I need to do, but I'm going to hide it because I don't feel like I'm an expert enough yet. Like I've got the certification that'll be like, so what the background of, I just kind of want your reflection of where this is coming from. So the background on how I'm in this business was, it was my ex got into the tree service, and then I did the business side of things. And so I've been working in networking. I've got licensed, bonded, insured. I got the pass the test to get the business. And now he was the field, I was the business. Now I'm in the field as well. And so learning the field piece, and this is part of the field piece. But
let me just interrupt, because look, and I interrupt you because, you've got doubt and I don't need you convincing me.
Yeah.
Like you've already sold yourself. And I
want to convince you on my positive though. I can do that too.
I know you can, but you're not doing that now, right? And so I want to interrupt the pattern of the story, okay?
Yeah.
Interrupt the pattern of the story. And let me just ask you this. Do you think it's possible that we ever really make the right decision? Like, if we think about what a right decision is, a right decision would mean nothing goes wrong, right? And so the ability for us to make a right decision almost doesn't exist. I make wrong decisions all the time. As a matter of fact, in here, in the book, he dedicates an entire chapter to decision making. And he says that successful people make decisions very quickly and they seldom, if ever, change them. What I've realized is that I don't need to make the right decision. What I need to be able to do is to make my decisions right. And what I hear from you is that you may not be the expert. You may not have all the answers. But let me ask you this. Can you make any decision you make right? Like, do you have the commitment, and do you have the personality that says, if I enter into an agreement with somebody and I take on a job or I make a commitment, I'm going to make whatever goes wrong right. I like my personal integrity is not going to let me to let people down. I'm not going to fail people. I'm not going to take it, or I'm going to do the right thing. Is that like, would you agree with that about yourself?
100%.
Okay. So you are then the expert. You remember the accumulation of a fortune calls for power. Power is acquired through highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. But the person who accumulates the fortune doesn't have to have the knowledge. All they have to have is the definiteness of purpose and the plan and the willingness to find the answers. So you may have to hire a couple of really great tree guys to lead your crews or to do those things. I'm sorry?
I do. That's
right,
what
okay.
I do.
Then stop feeding your doubt.
Right.
Then stop this game. Because that's what this is. This is a game that you're playing where, on one hand, you're this self-assured person and no, I am an expert. But then you open up this doubt of possibility. You either let your yes be yes. You're an expert. And anytime you start to tell this other story, this BS of anything less than that, this belief system that it's conditional. Well, it's a conditional expert. No, you're not. You're not a conditional expert. You either are or you aren't. If you aren't, go get better. And if you are, then stop entertaining or feeding or nurturing anything less. Yeah? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, what was your question then? Right? What's really the question? You're going to go, you're going to get this certification. That certification is going to give you the validation, right?
Mhm.
It's going to give you the right to be able to say, look, I'm certified. I've met the requirements. And you're going to go out and you're going to do your thing. And as you do your thing, you're going to do like everybody else does. You're going to make mistakes. The builder out there today is out there chipping away concrete because they poured it wrong the other day. And they're making their mistake right. And you're going to make mistakes and you're going to make them right.
Makes sense.
Okay? I think you said you had 2 questions.
No, there wasn't really, it was more of a reflection. I knew that I had what it took, and I know I'm surrounded by experts, and being ISA certified will open up possibilities for me to get more contracts, get higher level of certifications, and then be able to be the connector of matching the perfect client with the perfect contractor. And the
Yeah.
ISA just gives me that background knowledge so I can blend that better more.
How
And
many women are certified?
probably not a lot.
Probably not a lot.
Because I remember I walked into the room.
Hey, Cecily, that makes you rare. And in my world, rarity has more value.
Yep.
Right?
And minority
Rarity
women on top in the construction
has more
field.
value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rarity has more value. All right.
Thank you.
If you haven't joined our program, I'm asking you to go and just make an appointment and talk and just take a look at our program. We can help you and we want to help you. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
But
it.
go to the link, schedule a call. Okay, next up.
Okay, we're going to Lynette.
Hey, Lynette,
Hey,
my friend.
Paul. Another awesome session. Just love and adore you and your commitment to community. And every time you teach this, Paul, it just gets deeper and more resonant. And thank you for taking me back to the barn story, right?
Yeah.
We bring in so much information, but going back to that, a certain something in his face. So I've gotten a couple of results, and I have 2 questions for you with two clients. So applying the principles that we're learning in the program, I'd love to get your fresh thoughts on this. So 3 months ago, my pastor's wife, who became the chief medical officer for a medical insurance group, asked me to come in and do facilitate a half-day retreat she was doing with her new team. They had a lot of turnover, and we did a combination of disc workshop, everyone communicates, few connects, a little bit of purpose, vision, goals. Like I did a lot of things to try to hit her big goal. And then debriefs with the 7 managers that were in the room. And there's a high need to rebuild trust in this very uncertain environment. But she traveled immediately following it. So there was this huge gap of wanting to get back to her. We haven't yet done her debrief. She's had a number of conferences, travel, her daughter's graduating high school, like there's a number of things. So I want to know how to re-engage because it's quite cold, but not necessarily the need. And what we found and discovered in that was the new CEO had been making sudden moves with whole teams. And as you can imagine, being in medical, there's a lot of S-wired people. So folks, even who are secure within their teams or their divisions, have been feeling a lot of uncertainty, like what happened to my friends, or a lot of alignment that made sense, but it still felt like everything is top down. We're being asked to do too much. And one precious leader that I debriefed with was just in tears. Their leader, my pastor's wife, is a pure eye on our disc. Just so, a lot of she saw it in the workshop too, like, oh, am I showing up like this where high demands, loose details, kind of thing.
So I'm curious about how to move forward with that. And then the second question has to do with a program. Some time ago, you had asked us to create a 10K product, right? Whether or not we knew that we could do it. So I did, in fact, create a 12K product and I sold it.
Overachiever. And you
Oh my
sold,
God. It
of
was
course you
so
sold.
amazing. So amazing. So that was just an annual coaching program, weekly 1 hour coaching and a 3 hour vision retreat, a la Martinelli vision retreat, right?
Love it.
So then I said, oh, well, I've got this result. Let's replicate this. And that's the product that we're leading out with this summer.
Okay.
And then Eric K up-leveled me and he's like, no C-suite person wants to work with you for a year, Lynette, make it the same price 6 months, right?
Right.
So then I went out into the marketplace. I've had 4 conversations with this and haven't sold. And I think I may have overcomplicated the deal because I want to add all this value. So I was like, you're going to get the coaching and you're going to be in my E-Suite mastermind and we're going to have monthly Q&A calls. And so I think I just kind of overcomplicated it because I had a couple of people in paralysis analysis. So
Yeah, you were
just trying
selling
to
it by the,
follow up on that.
yeah, you're selling it by the pound, right?
So those were the 2 things. I still have confidence in the product, and the clients have gotten great results because I'm trained by the best in the world.
Right on.
So that first person who purchased on this 12K contract, Paul, we had 3 coaching sessions. She sealed the deal on a high profile appointment. Delta in her annual income was 200K.
Okay.
So feeling
Well,
good,
good.
feeling
Well,
good.
I think on your first one, I think you need to reestablish rapport,
Okay.
right? You're gonna have to get back connection with the pastor's wife. You're gonna have to get back. And I think what I would do is, I think the commitment objective here is let's get a circle back and let's reestablish what is reality right now, right? We can't change that which we can't define. So let's look at where we're at and let's regroup and have that. That's what I would do.
Okay. Okay.
On the other one is, and I think like we talked with James and like we've heard a couple of times today with other people we've talked about, let's not overcomplicate things, right? Let's keep the offer simple. Oftentimes what we want to try to do is we add more and more and more because we're trying to add value. But what you're doing is you're adding value by, okay, you get a mastermind group and then you get 6 months of coaching and then you get this resource and this resource. When you're trying to add value that way, the message is that I don't value me enough, that there's not enough value just in me. I've got to give you all these other things. So I want you to really want you to think about what is the value proposition, not of the program, but of you in the program. Like, what's the value proposition of learning and being with you? Remember how I started today? I said, look, when you're going from here to there, there's things you need to learn. Those are important, but who you learn them from really matters. There's the you factor, the value of you. And I think you've discounted that. I think you've forgotten the value of you. And so I think, our coach, Eric, was right to tell you in our program, look, somebody who is a C-suite, who's a D, who's an executive, who's moving, they're not looking for a longer commitment. They're not looking for a year program. They're looking for, look, I want a succinct program, 90 days, 6 months. I want to, I don't have, I don't have, 10 hours a week to put into this. And the problem is what you're thinking is let me give more of these things. But what I process as a client is I say, I'm paying for all these things I'm not going to use. I'm losing them. Like, I'm losing out because I can't be in this mastermind group for 8 weeks. I'm losing out because I can't do these Saturday things. So there's all these things that I'm paying for that I'm not getting. I don't know if I don't know if I want that. And I think that's something you got to really remember. So what can somebody commit to? I would go back, remembering that success leaves clues. I'd go back to the one buyer that you did have, and I would ask them, like, what was it? Like, what was the piece that made you say yes? That's what I would do. I'd start there. Thanks, Lynette. All right. We've got two more, and then we're gonna end. So we got two more, and then we're gonna call it a day. Go
All
ahead.
right, we're gonna go to Samuel.
Samuel,
Hi,
how
Paul.
are you, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. I've known you since 2016, and every time I listen to you teach, it's always refreshing. Um, and I always say to myself, I know I've said this to you maybe a couple of times, that if there's anyone that can help me build my business, it's the man that created the programs and the licenses that I have and sold them to me. That's the only man that can probably teach me how to sell this. Thank you for being you for the last 10 years and for pouring into our lives. Um, I've been out networking, and the last time I spoke with you, you said to me, Sam, what you need to do is to establish yourself as the go-to leadership expert in your county. I've been out networking. Last week I was at a local networking event. I made a few connections, and I spoke with this one elderly man who has a racking company, a shelving company rather, and he has a team of 14. And in the course of our conversation, he had mentioned to me he was struggling with his team members. I'd sent him a follow-up email, to get a formal conversation. But I do know that from the conversation we had at the event, I was more than convinced that he was qualified. Yeah, he does have challenges. And I'm thinking, how do I short circuit the next call, the next appointment? He hasn't responded yet, but I'm just saying, when I go into that call, I don't want to make it another formal discovery session. I want to be able to move him into the next step. So how do I do that? That's my first question. Second question is, while at the same networking event, I'd gotten invited to a BNI meeting next week by one of the board members of the chamber that I was at the event. They're not an official BNI yet. They haven't been officially registered or recognized, but they do have about 15 people going in there. So I just want you to be my thinking partner in this. How do I go in there? I don't want to go there, telling them, I'm Sam, I do this, I do that. I want to go there with an offer that you will call a killer offer, and move them into the next possible step. Those are the two questions I have.
So I think, well, thank you. I think with the gentleman that you spoke to, and now it seems like you're getting ghosted. I think you're going to want to ask, hey, look, when we last spoke, you said this, whatever that problem was.
Oh, 1 second, Paul. So we had the meeting on Wednesday. I sent him an email on Thursday, so it's just been a couple of days yet. So
okay. Well, then I would wait. Okay, then I think you're in good shape. I think you wait.
Okay, perfect.
Give it a wait.
Okay.
On the other one with the BNI group, I think what you want to give a killer offer. I think the most valuable resource you have is your time. That's the most valuable resource you have. And so what I would do is I would offer the members of the group a 30-minute leadership assessment. And I think I would do that. I would just say, look, I'm going to offer it's a 30-minute leadership assessment. I'm going to help you think through kind of where you are right now. What might be some of your biggest challenges? What might be some of your opportunities? And I'm going to help you think into just a strategic plan. And what I would say is, the challenge that most leaders have is that most leaders aren't listened to by people who don't have an agenda. Most people have an agenda. And what I've learned from leaders is most leaders talk to think. They speak in the language of commitment when really they're talking about an intention. They intend to do this, but because they're leaders and they're so clear on it, and they're so far ahead of their people, the people hear it in the language of commitment, and it creates this false set of expectations and this disconnect. And so what I do is I provide a place for those leaders to think out loud, to be able to think without being held accountable to their thinking, and to be able to be heard without having an agenda of trying to, get a promotion or get my buddy hired or get my project accepted. Most leaders don't have somebody in that role. And I'm offering that to everybody in the group for 30 minutes as a free opportunity to have this kind of like a leadership conversation. That's what I would offer.
Amazing.
That's the highest value, Samuel.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And Samuel, if you haven't already, I want you to get on the phone. I want you to talk about what you're building with Rick Ruperto, and just learn about our program, how we can help you. Okay.
I'm in the program.
Good. Then I'll see you on the next call.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Right on.
All right. Last but not least, we are going to
Last but not least, Megan. Last but not least, Megan, could you imagine we said, okay, 1 hour, we said, and then look what you did, Megan. Like you always do, Megan. You went long. Who is this, Megan? I'm sorry.
This is Joan.
Hey, Joan. Megan's gonna kill me.
Okay.
Megan was
Hi,
supposed to start
Paul.
working today at 11. Hey, Joan, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's been a very eye-opening session. I actually wrote my question, but I noticed that it wasn't asked. I just had to verbally ask it. So my company will sell high-ticket products. We sell premium furniture. So basically, we make people feel comfortable and beautiful within their spaces. So we have we sell premium kitchens, wardrobes, doors. They are premium because we use premium raw materials. So my question is, what's the most effective way to sell these products, especially when your network are not high network individuals? So it's been a struggle, kind of. So I have a lot of friends that are like, Joan, we can't afford your furniture, stuff like that. So what other way can I, sell those?
Did we lose you, Joan? I really hope we didn't lose Joan. Joan's been hanging in all day. Let me just make sure I didn't. You with me, Megan?
I'm with you, and it looks like Joan is still on the call and unmuted, but I'm not sure if her internet.
Well, let me answer Joan's question. Joan, you've got to, good for you. You've got people who are telling you they can't afford your product. They're not your buyers. So I salute, good. They're not your buyers. So you got to go to a different market, right? So you've got to go to a different market. Now that's a marketing idea, right? That's a marketing challenge of finding where those people are and where those people camp out at. I think what I would do is I would find a list of people in a residential area that meets what you believe, like $1 million homes, right? And I would look at $1 million homes and above, and maybe $1 million isn't even enough. Maybe it's 3 million or 4 million or more. I'd be looking for people in your area that have $4 million homes or older or more, a value of 4 million or more, 3 or 4 million or more. And I would be looking for those people who have houses that are 10 years or more old. So $4 million, and the house was built 10 years ago. They're up for a new kitchen. Okay. And I think that's where I'm going to kind of want you to start. And I think what I would do is I would call them up on the phone, and I would cold call, and I would tell them who you are and that you represent this gallery, and that you wanted to give them one of the ways that you introduce people in the community to the gallery is through a special invitation to come down and take a look at some of the new offerings and think about whatever would be your most exotic or rare, or so maybe you import something from, maybe you import a marble from Turkey, right? Or you import marble from Spain for the countertops, or a special granite quarry out of Italy, or there's a special wood that you use, something that would be special or unique that somebody who is wealthy or affluent would want to see. And you are offering them to come in for a private guided tour. Okay. That's what I would do. Worst case scenario, you've introduced themselves, and if they say, well, no, look, I don't have the time, thank you very much, you say, would you allow me to send you over a catalog so that maybe in the future, if you ever have the need, and they're going to say, sure, send it over. Great. Before I get you off the phone, let me confirm this is the best phone number, your email address. Super. Let me just ask you this. Have you redone your kitchen in 10 years? Have you, of new furniture, if you were to be in the market for new furniture, what room right now in your house do you think you would be interested in? So I make sure that I customize what I send to you. And then I would, so, you want to look, you can be a hunter or a farmer, and this allows you to be both. I would hunt. And then if when I hunt, I don't catch, well, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I hunt and I don't catch, then I'm going to farm and let me nurture it for a while. That's what I think I would do. You just have to find a different buyer. Now, once I get that buyer, I'm going to want to talk about what the feeling that they're going to have. Like, what would it be like for you? What would it be like for you to have this new kitchen? Imagine, so in my discovery, I find out that they have kids. Those kids, I find out that they have grandchildren. Imagine your grandchildren coming over. Imagine, baking cookies or doing whatever it is. You're Greek, so I know you make baklava. Imagine making baklava for Easter or Greek lamb. Imagine your whole family around this kitchen island. I want to emotionally put you in the furniture. I want to emotionally connect you to it. I'm not going to tell you, this isn't me just telling you about the furniture. I want to put you on the couch. Imagine, it's nighttime and you're cuddled up with your two grandchildren and you're reading and you feel the Corinthian leather, right? Put them in it, right? Remember, people buy on emotion and they justify the purchase with logic. They justify the purchase with the quality of the craftsmanship and other things. Okay, but they buy on the emotion. So that's what what I want you to start thinking about is I want you to think about a kitchen. I want you to think about cabinets. I want you to think about a couch or a lamp or a setting. And I want you to think, what's the story I can tell? What's a story? What can I paint? What picture can I paint here? That's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, okay, how do I make this story? How do I make this story powerful? How do I make this valuable? How do I make this emotionally appealing? That's what I need you to do. See, you can't make that up on the fly. Now you can customize it. Notice, oh, I see you're Greek, baklava. I see you're Greek lamb. Oh, I see you're Polish. Imagine, making pierogies. Food is, we're in the kitchen. Food is an emotional thing, So I want you to make sure that you have scripted in advance what these things are and these resources. Don't wait for the day of the show. Have it in advance. Okay? All right. Okay, Maggie. What do you think? Are we good?
I think we're good to go.
Okay. Well, everybody, I want to thank you so much. Don't forget, if you're asking questions like, what should I do? What's next? What should I say? You need some help. You need some training. Click on the link get on a call with Dr. Rick. We can help you, but more importantly, we want to help you. But we can't do that if you're not in the program. We can't do that. I want to thank you so much for giving me your most precious resource, your time. Thank you all, and I hope to see you in the program. Thank you, Megan. You're the best. Bye-bye, everybody.